Oh, thank you very much.
These couple of your ideas.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. That's nice. Yeah, because a couple of years ago I was the most at the beginning.
There's a handout and chocolate over there, if you want to come in.
No, yeah.
Yes.
I'm interested in doing this, but I haven't yet.
Okay, well, I guess we should get started. Hi, my name is Clarissa Ryan. I work in the San Francisco Bay Area, so if I'm a little out of it, sorry, I have some jet lag. There's a handout over there, if you would like one. So I'm going to be talking about a program called Delicious Library. I have to warn you, this is a Mac-only program. So if you don't have a Mac, you won't be able to use it. There are a couple of alternatives, but also you can still find out how this kind of thing works and start thinking about what you would want in a library management program. And secondly, I want to mention that, I don't work for this company, which is good, but also bad because I'm not a complete expert, okay? So I'll do my best to explain. So first of all, how many people in here lend books to students? Okay. How many people lend your own books to students? Okay. About more than half of us. So how many people have ever not gotten a book back? Yes. In fact, my very first graded reader, which is Fruitcake Special, I don't even know who has it. I'm so sad. So this can help you. But first, I would like you to talk to somebody next to you or think to yourself about how do you manage or keep track of books and what are the good and bad points of your system. Okay, so I'll give you just 30 seconds or a minute. Okay, go ahead and wrap up. So could I get a volunteer to tell me how you manage your books? You can have more chocolate when you leave. So any volunteers?
What's that again?
So a volunteer to tell me about how you manage your books.
Okay. Well, Jim manages his through the school library. So
oh, well, that's convenient.
No issues there.
Yeah.
I wheel a cart to class, and I have a sign in and out notebook, but I never look at it.
Right.
It would be totally impractical for me to actually do anything with that.
It's just there for
to
appearances.
Encourage the students to bring them back.
Yeah, so for a long time we had the same thing, just a piece of paper stuck to inside my suitcase full of books. So what are the bad points of this system?
It's going to disappear.
It's
Yeah,
totally
it's gonna
impractical
disappear.
for me to go through and track people down. And, there are legitimate reasons why students didn't get it signed back in. And things
Right.
Like that,
Yeah, so same thing for me. We had a piece of paper. That's what everybody at my school used. And then, students would start reading one, and they would actually write it down. But then halfway through, they would do just what I told them to do, and they would put it back if they didn't like it or it was too hard. And so now I don't know what book they have. So maybe we've all had similar experiences. So this program is called Delicious Library. It has been sold on a Mac, like I said. It's designed for home libraries and home collections. So that means it does have some drawbacks. But it is used in some classrooms, including mine. I talked to a woman at Delicious Library, and she said, yes, quite a few classrooms are using it. So this is actually not the most current version because I have teachers pay and I haven't upgraded yet. But the new version is similar to this. And let me tell you about some of the basic functions, okay? So one of the best things about the system is that if you want to add a book, you can actually scan the barcode. So I'm going to try doing that right now, maybe. And you need to have a camera on your computer. And most modern Macs come with one. All right, there we go. So, all right, so there it is. Do you see it up here? Peril at End House. I just got this yesterday. So here it is, automatically added. It also has the name. It has the synopsis. It has the author. So this is how it's supposed to work, ideally. It doesn't always work this way. Because that is how life is. So you can see on here my husband's obscure book on sea shanties. This book is not in the system, so we had to add it by hand. But it does pretty well. The newer the book is, the more standard it is, the better your luck is. If you want to add the information, it doesn't take very long. Once you get something in here, you can sort it. So you can sort it by the title. Everything changes. You can sort it by series, genre. You can add custom fields like your students' ratings and so on. Students love it when you scan books in front of them. They think it is magic, even though they all have... Yeah, and it's fun to sit there and do it, too, the first time, I have to admit. And then if you decide that, oh, no, I scanned this by accident, or no, I'm going to donate this to the library, then you burn your book and you just delete it. But it's very simple to manage. You can also scan books from your iPad. You can download the free scanning software. The main program is not free, but the scanner is free. So that's pretty convenient. You can just run around your house with your iPhone or your iPad. One of the interesting things I learned about the publishing industry from using this software is that publishers actually reuse ISBNs, which I had no idea about. I was shocked and appalled. But apparently the ISBNs are tied more to a pricing category than to an individual title. So I don't know if Collins would do this, but if somebody published this book 30 years ago, they decide they're never going to publish it again, they are going to make another book in the same pricing category, then they'll just reuse it. So once in a while you will scan something, you'll say, what the heck? Gardening practices in ancient Scotland. So you just delete it and start over. So a little cleanup work. But of course, the reason that we really want to use this is for lending for most of us. So as you can see, my husband here is apparently borrowing East 42nd Street. He's not really, but you have to set it up by putting the students' names into your contacts. It's a little bit of work at the front, but I haven't found a system that's more efficient. All of the systems require some kind of work up front. So if I decide that he's also going to check out Eye of the Storm, I just drag it onto his name. It gets grayed out, but still exists in my library so that I know that I own it. And now I know that he has it. When I click on his name, it shows me what books he's borrowed. And I can click on loan, and I can say when he should return it. You can set it up to automatically email your students if you're using mail on your computer. And he gives it back to me, and I just hit check in. So now he's checked it in. Those are the basic functions. It has a few others. You can publish your library to the internet, or you can print it. This can be nice if you want to have a list of all your books in your classroom but not tied to your computer. It also means that you can check and see what books you own when you don't have your computer with you. And you can also have your students do things like look through it and think about what they want to use in the future or what they want to buy that they enjoyed. And it's actually pretty flexible about what information you are going to publish, right? So I could publish just the books that I use at school, right? Don't actually want it to publish. Okay. You can add notes about the level. You can add notes about the vocabulary. They have improved a recommendation engine now in version 3 so that your students can get recommendations about similar books. It's actually already pretty good in this version, just not perfect. There are some drawbacks, though. One drawback that I forgot to put on your handout is that it's English only, as far as I know. If your students are learning English, then it'll be fine, right? And it's pretty simple, so you don't need to worry about technical English. So it is English only. The biggest drawback is that it lives on one computer. It can't be networked. It can't be shared. You cannot share the database with somebody else. That's a big drawback, right? So your school is probably not going to use this program.
How about on your system, like if you've got 2 different computers?
You can connect to the iPad or the iPhone, but it has to be on one computer at a time. There are some fancy hacks for having it work between computers, but most people aren't going to do that. My husband made it work, but he's a computer science master's degree. So I was talking to Allison at Delicious Library, and she said there are people who use a dedicated computer in the classroom for it. That's one way to get around it if you happen to have that much extra money. But she pointed out that you should be careful not to leave it open because there is no way to lock it. Students could come in and accidentally or on purpose delete the entire library, or maybe just one book that they really hate. Okay, so be careful about that. So if you are interested in checking it out, this is the website, and this is a support. If you email them, you will get an automated reply, but then a little bit later, a day or 2 later, they will write you a personal message. So if you download the trial, or if you buy it and you have some thoughts about what they should put in their next version, because they're not focusing on educational users, but they know we're out there, right? So I think they may listen to you in the future. And those are the main points that I wanted to go over. It has made my life easier as long as I remember to bring my computer. So any questions? Yes?
Does it support multiple copies of the same title? Can you...
I think so, but why don't we just find out? Let's see. Okay, and let's do it again. So, I think you can do it, but I think you have to tell it. I think you need to tell it somehow. Yeah, I haven't actually tried that.
Okay.
Right now I only have one of everything. Duplicate item.
Oh, okay.
There we go.
I got 2.
Yeah, so now there's 2. Good question. Yeah.
How much does this service cost?
That's a really good question, and I haven't checked recently. When I bought it, it was, I think, $20. So it's 20 or 30 right now. That's just it's a one-time. Yeah, one-time purchase. Because the storage is on your computer, and then, like I said, the app is free, but the app is only a scanner. Yeah, so it's about $30. Yes.
Is there any way to group your list of students? Like, could I put them in the different classes?
I believe so. So, I haven't tried that, but I am pretty sure that you can. You may have to do it in your address book, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
Make a group of contacts.
Yeah. Yeah. So, look, here we go. Collection of friends. Oh, isn't that nice? Okay. Yes. So you can make a group. Okay. Any other questions or comments?
So you said it was set up not for educational use primarily, but for people's homes.
Yes.
But does that mean they're expecting people to sort of, be constantly lending out their own books?
Apparently, yes. I think, and that is actually, as far as I know, what spurred the creation of the software. So there's a significant minority of people who do lend their stuff to their friends all the time, and then they don't get it back. So you can actually scan a lot of different things. Right now, it's only showing books and movies, but you can scan books, movies, music, video games, and you can manually add things like power tools, should you want to. Yeah.
In class, let's say, okay, it's time for students to borrow books. Do they then go over to your computer and?
Usually, they just flash it at me, and then I just drag it onto their name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's the checkout is literally just like that. So if I want to mess with the details about the loan,
they're wanting to get,
yeah,
you find it in your library and drag it.
Yeah, it's very quick because it has a sort of iTunes style search here, so I can type in. And there it brings up, so if you don't see it on the screen, because I know some of you are going to have enormous libraries, you just start typing the title. Yeah. And I think that is it for our time, unless there's one more question. Then I think we're actually done on time, so that's nice. So thank you for coming. And my email address.
No, I was planning on coming. It's you're at 11:30, so it must be busy now.
Hey, just
My name's Paul Goldberg, and I teach at Kwansei Gakuin University in Osaka, Japan. And for the last almost 2 years, I've been working on a project called X Reading VL. So I'd like to tell you a little bit about that project today. Okay. Usually when I start talking about the project, I have to explain to people what is extensive reading, but for some reason I think we don't need that one today, so we'll just get rid of it. Okay. I also will generally then second go to the benefits of extensive reading. Again, I think we can drop that. So we'll start with something that may be also a lot of us have experience with, but we could problems with extensive reading. Okay, and these I'm talking more of the not the pedagogical problems as much as the logistical problems that go on when people doing extensive reading. And if you can think for just a moment, I was going to have you discuss with the people around you, but since we have a limited amount of time, I'll just go through some of the problems I've come up with in my own experience in talking to teachers. Limited number of books available, to mean the whole number of books in the library. Limited copies of each book, so if you want to do a class reader or even literature circles, it's quite difficult. Books may not be available in the library when students go there, especially at busy times during the semester. Lack of current titles or the newest series may not be available, and teachers have limited control in ordering new books or asking their library to get new books can be a problem. Books deteriorate. Exercise and activities, which some of the books have, most of the books have, some of them have a lot, some have fewer. They generally cannot be used because they are usually library books that students are using. And they're just not always accessible for students, especially if they're getting from the university library. They may be, in my case, for example, my case, our campus is really far away from pretty much everything. So if a student doesn't happen to live on campus, they're going to have a long trip. If they don't live right near campus in the same town, they're going to have quite a long trip to get to the library. Okay, so these are problems. I don't know if you've encountered similar issues. Then there's problems with online extensive reading. These are some problems that Charles Brown and Rob Waring brought up at the ER seminar in Nagoya in 2012. It's difficult to download materials. To get them, you have to go to the publisher's website. Sometimes you have to register to the publisher. Can become expensive. You have to do it each time for every publisher. They did not offer a subscription model at that time. And it wasn't scalable to classes and institutions, and generally publishers did not offer learner management systems. So these are problems that they had found. And they actually, at the end of their presentation, created a wants list, integrated learning environment, ability to track, so LMS, adaptable to customizable to the learner, assessment schemes, more graded readers online, I think an easy to assess format. Again, this is from what Rob Waring and Charles Brown came up with. They didn't know it at the time. I had already started working on the project, but this was very encouraging because it was, my project was going to be solving a lot of those problems and answering this want list. The project, I said, is called X Reading, and the mission of X Reading is to make extensive reading easier for teachers, more accessible for students, and more profitable for publishers. And I put that there not because I thought there'd be publishers in the room, but I think for all of us, it's actually beneficial for publishers to make money, because what does that mean? More books, which benefits us and benefits our students. Okay, I'm going to now go. So any questions on any of that? Okay, it's a short session, so I'll just go quickly and show you how actually the system works in the most basic sense. Okay, this is just doing the most basic features for an instructor. There's 3 easy steps. They create a class, they create an assignment, and they add students. Okay? So the teacher, when they log in, they go to their classes. At this point, there's no classes. This is the first time the teacher has visited the site. They simply go to the Add Class button. They add the data about their class. And again, these are classes that they're teaching, so they put whatever the class name is, whatever date it opens, whatever date it closes, and like that. Then they need to, so now the class has been created. So now this teacher has 1 class. The next thing would be to add the assignment. Go to the Assignments tab. There's no assignments yet. Press Add Assignment. Very similar, you add the name of the assignment, the open and close dates. One nice feature, it has the time. So if you have an assignment close on one day and another one open, students don't see 2 assignments. You can have them open and close at different times. I should mention, I see 2 general approaches for teachers. One approach is where you create 1 assignment for the semester and tell students, you need to read 10 books during the semester whenever you want to, or something like that, or read a minimum of 10 books, 1 assignment. My approach, and another approach other teachers use, is create weekly assignments. So every week there's a different assignment they go to, and they have to read something for that assignment, and then the next week there'll be another assignment. So the system is flexible and can do both styles. The advantages of doing different assignments, different weeks, is that, as I'll show you later, you can change the criteria or the restrictions of different assignments. So if you have only 1 assignment, you don't have that ability anymore. Okay, we have our classes, we have our assignments. That's the assignment now. Adding students. Okay, adding students is not quite as simple because there's a lot of different options that teachers or institutions may want to use. We go to Add Students, and we're first given the option, are we adding students who have already used the system, or are we adding students who are totally brand new? Okay? And then you have the choice of adding a single student or a batch of students. In this case, we'll be adding brand new students and a batch of them. So that can be done through a spreadsheet. So are we going to upload our spreadsheet? No, because we don't actually have one yet, so we have to download a spreadsheet first. That will give us a spreadsheet that blank. We can put in the student data, okay, of the whatever students we need to. Once we have our student data in the spreadsheet, we go back, upload it, and our students are in the class. Okay. Any questions? That's the teacher side. I went through it very fast. And there's some additional features I'll show you after. Yes?
Do you have to provide a password for students?
Yes, which they can then change. Yeah. Other question? Okay. We'll go to the student side. 3 easy steps. First, they're going to go to an assignment. Then they're going to select a book. And then they're going to read, hopefully. Student logs in. They go to their assignments. They see their assignment, but they have no books. They can press Add Book. They're given a typical library of books to choose from. They have the option of browsing. Right now it says there's 20. I'm not sure why it says 27. We were just testing it. But probably they would get a much larger number. Right now we have 150 books in the system. They could browse by different levels, or once they have a selection, they could narrow by certain criteria, such as genre or level, things like that. Student decides, okay, I've chosen a book. They get more information about it. We're trying to make this as similar as possible to going to a library or a bookstore and actually picking up the book, and these are the things that someone would probably look at. This is the metadata, there's a summary. They could actually preview the first about 8% of the text. They can see what the chapters are. They can see what difficult vocabulary is going to be in the book. They can actually see the graphics. Is this going to be color or black and white, or maybe there are no graphics? Character list, exercises, and reviews for that book. Okay. Once they've decided, yes, this is the book I want, they press select, and they start reading. Okay, and this is what the reading environment looks like. It's pretty simple. Just click forward. And it's reflowable text, meaning that if you change the size, it's not up one page. So if you change, right now there's, let's say, 200 words on this page. If they increase the size, then there'll be less words. Okay, so you don't actually zoom in. It's the same effect, but you increase the size. Okay, and that is helpful for keeping track. And they can click through the book. It keeps track of how far they're going. When they're finished, they can see their usage data, and of course the teacher can see the same data, keeping track of what reading they've been doing, what books they've read, how many words, the percent of the book they've gotten through, how much time. Because we know how many words they've read and we know how long they've been reading, we can actually calculate their reading speed. Okay, and we have certain features that if they leave the site and don't do anything, it times them out, so there wouldn't be an issue of students just, you know, of the timing being too inaccurate. Okay, okay, any questions about the student side? Yeah?
So you got children's books on there too?
Not right now. We're aiming for the university market initially. If things go well and the publishers are satisfied, then we're going to expand. Yeah.
What level books?
Generally, which books do you?
Like graded readers?
Yeah, we use like equivalent to like level 1 or starter level from Oxford or Macmillan or Cengage. Yeah, not Oxford. No, we have Macmillan and Cengage, and we're working on other major publishers. We have the 2 publishers we have right now, Macmillan and Cengage, have agreed to provide material, and we're negotiating with 2 other major international publishers and several smaller publishers. So hopefully by the end of next month we'll have a better idea. We haven't actually launched yet. Our beta launch is set for end of October, in time for the JOLT conference in Japan.
You have a quiz for the
Yep.
students? Are you going to talk
Yep,
about
I'll get to that, yeah. Okay, so additional features for students. You can go to View Settings and change the font size, the line spacing, the margins, even the color, and get a totally different appearance, which may be not for entertainment value, but for if they're reading in a dark space or whatever, they have a smaller device, they can change that. Another feature is there'll be audio. This won't be ready next month, but we've already, part of our agreement with the publishers, that we'll be providing the audio for the books as well. Okay, and a nice feature is the audio speed will be adjustable, because I've actually worked on a project before, and it's technically possible to do that, up to 20% faster and 20% slower. Okay, another feature, if this is going to work, is you can click on a word. Students can click on a word, get the meaning. I'm working with Rob Waring and Charles Brown, hopefully to integrate their system with mine. So it would not only give you the meaning of the word, it would actually select the appropriate meaning for that context, which would be useful. And then it would tell the student, actually we've changed this now, it will no longer tell the student if this word is important or not while they're reading. We don't want to give any real distraction. We want to have minimal distractions as possible. What the system will do then is save this word to the student's word list, and later when they finish the book, they'll be able to see what words they've looked up, the importance of the words, if they want to save them or not, and they will have a vocabulary learning environment that they'll be able to then practice those words. Probably long in the future is going to be the ability to text mark, highlight, or make notes on there. But that's, again, going to be sometime far into the future, but planning already. Students will be able to take quizzes. Actually, I have these out of order a little bit. This will be there. Students will be able to take quizzes online when they finish the book. And yeah, they'll also be able to rate books when they're done. Those ratings can then be used by future students, and because, yeah, so we'll have ratings for all the books and a kind of a variety of different ratings, you know, regarding they liked it, if they didn't finish it, reasons for that. The student will fill in a profile of who they are and their likes and dislikes, their background, like their age, gender, and which genres they like and dislike. Two big advantages for this. One is we can then recommend books from our library to students. If we have 150 or 200 books, it's not such a big deal, but we're anticipating that we could have well over 1,000, so this would be useful for recommendations. Also, because of the profile, we'll be able to, when we look at the ratings, you'll be able to see certain kinds of students. So a book may have 3 stars, but for Korean females between the age of 18 and 22, it may have 5 stars. So you'd be having this profile information, you'd be able to do a much more refined search. Adding physical books. My idea is hopefully that this system will be, replacing the physical books. Students will do their reading on their phone or on their computer. But the reality is schools have invested lots of money in libraries. And therefore, instead of saying to them, oh, you have to choose our system over the library, we've made them compatible. That a student could actually get a book from the library, either because it's not in our system, or because they don't have a mobile device, or they're not going to be in the country or something. And then they can register that physical book. Of course, it won't keep track of their reading time or their words, but it will let the teacher see what book the student has and give them a quiz for that. Does that answer your quiz question? Okay. Additional features for teachers. A very important one is the ability to restrict the library, which books your students can access. You can see there's a whole list. Basically, all the criteria a student can choose a book from, they can also, a teacher can restrict those same criteria. For example, the easiest one is removing which levels you don't want your students to access. The length of the book. Do you want books only with audio or only without audio for some reason? Your target age of your readers. Do the books have quizzes if you want to make sure your students only choose books with quizzes? And then if you want to, I know a thing for a lot of teachers is they want to remove any books that have a TV or movie adaptation. You could automatically do that so the students won't be able to select those kind of books. The adding student to spreadsheet, I know from working at different institutions, they have different criteria, different spreadsheets. So there'd be some flexibility. For example, if you want your family name and given name in one column, or you want your family name and given name in 2 separate columns, you could actually choose that when you download your spreadsheet. I'm sure there'll be some exceptions that we won't have the ability to work with, but we'll try to be flexible. The system also has printable quizzes that if the teacher wants to actually administer the quiz in class, or the teacher can administer the quiz in class on a phone, but have it restricted so the quiz is only available during class time. I don't know, do many of you use Moodle Reader or M-Reader? Okay, I'm in discussions with Tom Robb of making Moodle Reader quizzes also available. We've actually talked about that for quite a while. So we're going to do it, just we're waiting for our site to be a little bit more developed. And students, if you're using M-Reader, would not have to actually log out of our site and go into their site. It would automatically, it would look like they're staying in our site, but it would actually take the M-Reader quizzes. Upcoming features is going to be a very fine-tuned LMS to monitor student reading. So each of these bars represents a time that a student logged in, and you can see how much they read, how many minutes they read. Helpful for teachers, I think really helpful for researchers if you want to have an idea what your students are doing. This is just the beginning. You can then click on one of these bars, which is a session, and then you can see exactly what the student did, how quickly they progressed through the system, what they were doing, if they were going back for words. This hasn't been built yet. I've been told it's possible. We'll see. Being able to set goals for students. for different assignments. Goals could be number of words or number of books or even amount of time. Setting rankings that will allow students to compete, or this is showing students competing, and I think you notice that some students can use aliases or screen names so they don't have to worry about being embarrassed. Also, classes can compete with each other if you want to have a class competition. Okay, and upcoming features I don't have any screenshots for. A native app, right now the system is entirely browser-based, either a PC or any smartphone, but we will be eventually coming out with a native app. Vocabulary learning environment, different kind of games and activities, either before a student reads a story with the words that are going to be appearing in that story, or the words that they have already read from various books. Interactive activities, most graded readers have activities. Initial rollout, we will be able to, students will be able to print those pages. Of course, they can't print the content pages. The publishers won't allow that, but they will allow the exercise pages. Eventually, we want to have interactive activities where the students would do the activities in the website. And we'll have an administrator side where an administrator, just like a teacher can control the environment of students, the administrator can control the environment of teachers. For example, not allowing them to delete students or things like that. Whoa, okay. Any questions? Oh, it said stop. Question time or no? I guess there's no question time. Well, I'll be available outside if anybody has any questions for me. I can say we are looking for people to pilot it, although it would have to be in Japan. Well, it depends. Maybe, because it depends. It's because of the licensing with the publishers, but the publishers we're negotiating with right now do not have geographic restrictions. The ones Macmillan and Cengage do for at least the first year, but other publishers, perhaps I don't think there's going to be geographic. So possibly after November. If anybody else wants to, also let me know. Thank you very much. I did not know it was 20 minutes.
네, 안녕하세요. 저는 김시원이라고 합니다. 마이크 해도 돼요?
아니, 그거 말씀 하세요. 목소리 잘 안 들려요.
저는 주로 어린이들하고 학교에서 일을 하고요. 이렇게 어른들 만나서 말하는 건 처음이라서 한국말로 하겠습니다. 많이 양해해 주시면. 저희 얼터너티블리하게 지금 마이크로소프트 파워포인트는 영어로 돼 있고요. 돼 있어가지고요. 결정하시면 됩니다. 그래서 제가 오늘 드릴 말씀은 타이틀은 Psychological Extensive Reading입니다. 그리고 주요하게 말씀드릴 점은 즐거움, 신미한, 위안 되겠습니다. 그래서 저희가 소개해드릴 책은 널시 라임즈랑 더 허비트인데요. 어린이들 그리고 예비 청소년이 연계돼서 배울 수 있는 책으로 골라봤습니다. 제가 지금 프리스쿨러는 초등학교 전 미취학 어린이들이고요. 예비 청소년이라고 말하는 프리틴스는 한 5, 6학년으로 생각하면 되겠습니다. 그래서 4학년까지는 아무래도 어린인데 5, 6학년은 사춘기들 많이 겪고 있더라고요. 그래서 소개해드릴 책은 널시 라임즈고요. Over the hills and far away is one of the most beautiful in all English poetry. 제가 감명 깊은 구절이었고요. 그리고 예비 청소년들한테 권해주고 싶은 책, 더 호비트, 톨킨 영화로 많이 어린이들이 봤던 것 같습니다. 그래서 중요한 얘기는 far more important is the consolation of the happy ending, 위로, 위안. 그래서 호비트 내용이 빌보라는 어린이처럼 보이는 어른이 원래 소심하듯 그렇지만 용감하게 여행을 전진하다가 결국에는 보물을 찾고 집에 돌아온다는 내용이거든요. 그래서 오늘 abstract를 말씀드리면 This article considers how pleasure and consolation can be discovered through succession from nursery rhymes to poems in The Hobbit. Between preschoolers and pre-teenagers, comparatively, the contention of psychological discovery is used to say the developmentally appropriate way of actual reading achievement, related not only with cognitive intelligence, but also with motivational emotional factor as his or own individual need to acquire and operate ability. This work examines a set of rhyme and a poem from three subjects: the unconscious of the author Tolkien as a storyteller, the images in the word and sound, and the collective unconscious of universal child readers. The theoretical frameworks are, respectively, the storyteller concept of Peter Brooks, the imaginary of Jacques Lacan, and Carl Jung's notion of the archetype. 그래서 주요 어휘는 nursery rhyme, poetry in the Hobbit, affective response. 기억을 해주시면 도움이 될 것 같습니다. 그래서 제가 어린이들을 5살 제가 어린이집에서도 일을 많이 했거든요. 얼집은 어린이집의 전문 용어입니다. 그래서 제가 어린이들한테 물어봤어요. 5살인데 개월수는 한 30개월 정도 될 것 같습니다. 그래서 장래희망이 뭐예요? 물어봤더니 저한테 다시 장래희망이 뭐예요? 물어봐요. 저는 꿈을 물어본 거고 어린이들은 그 말뜻을 다시 물어보는 거거든요. 그러면 피카츄, 파워레인저요, 공주요 그래요. 아직 상상의 세계에 있습니다. 그래서 의인화하기도 아주 좋고요. 그래서 어린이들 보는 책을 골라주실 때 어린이들의 흥미를 많이 생각해 주시면 도움이 될 것 같습니다. 그리고 초등학교 11살 4학년인데요. 4학년까지도 꿈이 다양해요. 굉장히 건강한 어린이거든요. 꿈이 이렇게 다양합니다. 이과, 문과, 예체능을 넘나들면서 경계를 날아다니며 아주 다양한 꿈이 정신적으로 굉장히 건강하죠. 근데 5, 6학년이 되면 조금 또 상황이 달라지더라고요. 그래서 아무래도 어린이들이 4살까지, 아니 4학년까지, 그 다음에 5, 6학년은 예비 청소년, 그래서 중학생을 준비하는 그렇게 어린이들, 그리고 예비 청소년, 그리고 청소년으로 도움을 주시면 도움이 될 것 같습니다. 그런데 그렇게 상상 속에 어린이들이 있거든요. 저는 상상 예찬이고 상상 예찬하는 어린이들이 있는데 진도를 나가야 되잖아요. 진도를 나가야 되면 이 책이 제가 봤을 때 되게 도움이 많이 됐거든요. Reading and its difficulties. 그래서 이 내용은 어린이들이 진짜 학습 부진아 아닌가, 또는 동기부여가 충분히 안 됐거나 감정적으로 굉장히 학습에 자신감이 없는 경우거든요. 그래서 학습 부진아가 아닌 경우 동기부여 또는 감정적으로 힘들어하는 어린이들을 우리가 잘 확인을 해서 그대로 도움을 줘야 된다, 그런 내용인 것 같습니다. 근데 상상 속에 있는 어린이들 데리고 진도를 30명 대그룹을 가지고 나가려면 저희 선생님들 마음은 이렇습니다. 저희 선생님들 마음도 쉽지가 않습니다. 그래서 차근차근 조금씩 배워가는 게 좋은데요. 네, nursery rhymes를 통해서 어린아이들이 동요로 소리를 더 익히고, 그리고 나서 하비트에 있는 시, 굉장히 의미가 있는 시인데요. 연계가 되면 어린이들이 충분히 이해를 합니다. 제가 프레젠터 어제 구입했거든요. 네, 그래서 들려드릴 예시 시는요, Five Little Ducks. 그리고 오른쪽에 있는 그림은 톨킨이 스스로 그린 그림이에요. 그래서 다 언덕이 보입니다. 그런데 오른쪽 언덕은 길이 좀 더 세밀하죠. 정밀하게 그림이 되어 있습니다. 그래서 어린이들이 조금씩 배워나간다면 부담 없이 배울 수 있을 것 같습니다. 그래서 제가 들려드릴 노래는요. 원래는 책이 있으면 애들한테 비주얼 에이드로 충분히 도움이 되는데요. 노래를 들려드리겠습니다. Five little ducks went out one day over the hills and far away. Mother duck said quack, 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 quack. Four little ducks came back. Four little ducks went out one day over the hills and far away. Mother duck said quack, 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 quack. Three little ducks came back. Three little ducks went out one day over the hills and far away. Mother duck said quack, 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 quack. Two little ducks came back. Two little ducks went out one day over the hills and far away. Mother duck said quack, 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 quack. One little duck came back. One little duck went out one day over the hills and far away. Mother duck said quack, 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 quack. Five little ducks came back. 그래서 레퍼티션이 주로 나오고요. 이 노래가 널서리 라임에서 나오는 노래입니다. 그리고요. 이 포에츄리는 더 허빗에 나오는, 허빗의 시가 많이 나오는데요. 이 마지막 시고요. 허빗 노래를, 아니 호빗 전체 이야기 스토리를 좀 압축해 놓은 시입니다. Roads go ever ever on over rock and on the tree, by caves where never sun has shone, by stream that never find the sea, over snow by winter snow, and through the merry flowers of June, over grass and over stone, and on the mountains in the moon. Roads go ever ever on the cloud and on the star, yet feet that wandering have gone, turn at last to home afar. Eyes fire and sword have seen, and horror in the halls of stone. Look, at last, a meadows green, and trees and hills they long have known. 네, 그래서 시를 간단히 정리를 하면은요, Over the hills and far away nursery rhyme이고요. Roads go ever ever on은 허빗에 있는 시입니다. 그런데 공통점이 있어요. 스토리텔링이 돼야 돼요. nursery rhyme은 주로 엄마들이 노래해 주는 거죠. 근데 우리나라는 EFL 상황이기 때문에 학교에서 선생님들이 엄마처럼 노래를 해줘야 된다고 생각을 합니다. 그래서 장점은 immediate affectionate relationship이 공감대가 유지가 되고요. 그리고 톨킨이 어린아이들을, 톨킨 자체가 양차대전을 겪으면서 어린이들을, 본인 자신의 자식들을 위로해주기 위해서 호빗 노래, 호빗 글을 이야기로 들려주는 게 시작을 해서 책이 만들어졌거든요. 그래서 Father 톨킨이 caregiver로서 직접 말로 해준 그게 원료입니다. 그리고 image of word and sound를 보면은요, over the hills and far away 되게 주요 문구가 repetition 되고요. 그리고 같은 맥락으로 네, 호빗에도 from horror to peaceful green. 네, 그래서 collective unconscious 이거는 집단 무의식을 융 심리학에서 말하는 건데요. discover the unpleasant and shadow to be integrated. 앞에서 보시면 되게 무서운 내용이 나와요. 아가들은 그 Five Little Dog에서 책을 보면은요, 거기 울프가 나오거든요. 그럼 울프가 닭을 잡아먹었다고 생각을 해요. 그래서 되게 무서워해요. 그런 다음에 다시 엄마를 다 같이 만나서 되게 좋아하거든요. 그 다음에 어린이집에서 한 오후 시간에는요, 저런 책 읽어주면 엄마 보고 싶어요 애들이 그래요. 그래서 아이들이 힘든 마음도 스스로 발견해보고 탐색해보고 그리고 모든 사람들이 두려움도 있고 질투도 있고 유죄의식도 있다는 그런 감정을 받아들이게 하는 거예요. 그런데 그 사실을 받아들이는 순간에 어린이들이 또 우리가 초등학생들한테는 어휘를 기억을 하거든요. 예비 청소년들은 특히 기억을 하는데요. 모든 인류들이 공통적인 fear, envy, guilt가 있고요. 우리가 우리 마음을 자세히 들여다보면 우리 마음을 귀 기울이면 내 마음에 두려움이 있다면 반대되는 단어를 머릿속으로 찾아보자. 그러면 용기 이 단어를 챙기면 되고요. 그리고 envy가 있으면 challenge 우리도 그렇게 해볼 거야 하고 반대 단어를 찾아보는 거고요. 그리고 guilt가 있으면 innocent 단어를 찾아보는 거예요. confidence 자신감 갖고요. 그래서 오히려 우리 마음을 더 탐색해보고 마음에 귀 기울여서 우리 마음을 받아들이고 더 용기를 얻게 됩니다. 그래서 결국에는 힘든 마음을 우리가 인식하고 다시 회복되는 과정이 consolation이 되고요. consolation이 되면 특히 어린이들이 옆에서 힘들 때 부모님들이 그 단어를 알려주신다면 그 단어 하나만으로도 위로를 받거든요. 그러면 결국엔 어린이들이 더 마음이 튼튼해져요. 그래서 consolation이 hope로 변합니다. 그래서 consolation present children with hope. 그래서 이건 톨킨의 theory가 있는데요. 네. consolation을 받으면 clear view를 받게 된답니다. 그래서 그 전에 힘들었던 마음보다 다시 파란 마음, 희망이 가득 찬 시야를 바뀐다고 합니다. 그래서 consolation이 굉장히 중요한 것 같습니다. 그런데 아까도 말씀드렸는데 아이들이 어린이들이 책을 읽을 때 즐거운 책을 읽어줘야 되는데요. 즐거움이요. 막 웃고 막 까불고 이런 것까지만은 아니에요. 그래서 심각하게 재밌고 우습게 재밌고 슬프게 재밌고 어리둥절하게 재밌고 간단하게 재밌고 화가 나면서 재밌다 해서 우리 모든 감정을 각기 다른 감정을 네 한번 탐색해보는 그런 과정인 것 같습니다. 그래서 플레저의 다양한 말씀을 주신 분이 페리 노도만인데요. 어떤 점이 있는지 말씀드리겠습니다. The pleasure of experiencing sounds and images. 소리 자체가 굉장히 재밌어요. 소리 자체가 감정을 영어 단어 모를 때 큐가 돼요. 그래서 슬픈 소리, 기쁜 소리가 그 단어와 연계가 돼서 더 받아들이고 이해하고 기억을 더 잘합니다. 그리고 책을 보여주면 이미지 굉장히 중요하고요. 그래서 This is the essence of joy sense, bodily pleasure 되겠습니다. 또 하나는 pleasure words themselves. 어휘가 굉장히 중요하긴 한 것 같습니다. 그런데 적절히 우리 감정을 다 표현해주는 그 어휘 하나가 큰 효과를 발휘하는 것 같습니다. 그래서 patterns that sounds can make the interesting ways in which they combine with one another, the ability to express revealing, frightening, or beautiful pictures of ideas. This is the point with joy sense, because with pleasure. 그래서 이런 과정이 있고요. The pleasure of having one's emotions evoked. Laughing at a comic situation, being made to feel the pain or the joy of character experiences. 근데 아픔과 고통은 어린이들이 표현을 안 하려고 그래요. 특히 청소년들은 더 그래요. 5, 6학년 때도 안 그러거든요. 5, 6학년도 더 그래요. 4학년까지도 다 얘기하는데요. 얘기를 하면서 더 승화시키는 것 같습니다. 같이 얘기하면서. The pleasure of finding a mirror for oneself, of identifying with fictional characters. 그래서 스스로를 거울에 비춰보는 과정인데요. 그러면서 자아를 찾는 데 도움이 됩니다. 자아 형성에. The pleasure of escape, of stepping outside oneself at least imaginatively and experience the lives and thoughts of different people. 사람들과 여기서 escape는 도망이 아니고요. 도망이 아니라 톨킨이 말하는 이론에 의하면 억울하게 감옥에 갇혀있다고 치면 충분히 탈출해야 된다고. 그래서 우리 마음에 비춰보면은 슬픈 마음에서 우리가 어떻게 기쁜 마음으로 플레전트하게 우리 감정을 변화시킬 수 있을지. The pleasure of story. 스토리 자체도 즐겁고요. 근데 스토리에서도 아까요. 서스펜스도 있고 클라이맥스도 있어요. 그 다음에 레졸루션이 있고 그런 스토리 플롯이 있으면 더 즐겁습니다. Pleasure of storytelling. The consciousness of how a writer's point of view and emphasis on particular element shapes when it happens. 스토리텔링이 되게 중요한 것 같아요. EFL 상황에서는요. 그래서 또 하나는 pleasure of seeing through literature, emotions and influence. 그래서 지금 pleasure 중에서 감정과 많이 연관된 부분만 제가 가져온 거고요. 그래서 어린이 도서관 차주진 관장님께서 말씀해 주신 건 좋은 책을 재미있게 읽어주기. 근데 제가 여기다 덧붙이면 단어는 쉬운데 어휘는 간단한데요. 내용은 깊이가 있으면 아주 좋습니다. 그리고 5, 6학년 예비 청소년들은 일단 교과목에서도 굉장히 어려운 걸 배워요. 난이도 되게 높거든요. 그래서 너무 현실적인 것도 내용이 너무 쉬우면 더 몰입을 못하는 것 같습니다. 그래서 EFL 상황에서는 simple terms, 그 다음에 complex thinking 가능할 것 같습니다. 그래서 결국에 adults can also help children understand their world and themselves better by encouraging them to read in this way. 그래서 스스로 책을 통해서 자아를 찾고 우리가 사는 사회를 탐색해 보면 충분히 도움이 되는 것 같습니다. 그런데 어른들의 역할은 도움을 주는, 용기를 주는. 그래서 스웨덴 작가가 하는 말인데요. 어린이들은 책을 읽으면서 혼자라는 생각이 들지 않도록 해야 한다. 아이들은 어떤 문제와 생각에 직면하든지 같은 상황에 놓여 있는 다른 친구들을 발견할 수 있는 인식처가 있어야 한다. 그래서 hope after consolation, 위로를 받고 그 감정이 hope에 연결이 되는데요. The sharing of lyrics is practice consolation. On the whole, mature tellers and active listeners could all be reciprocally comforted thanks to unlimited affectionate relationship. Because when the storytelling manner functions as a zone of proximal development and traditional rhyme as scaffolding, facilitated and gradual language acquisition from rhymes to poems, it's a developmentally appropriate way for international pupils to take pleasure in learning poetry. The Hobbit poems show sensible expressions that promote aesthetic repetition, divine a comic atmosphere, sublimate the unpleasant, clear the mind after going through ambivalent emotions, 양가 감정이 있어서요. 근데 in a pro-social way, 신사회적인 방향으로요. And then finally fill it up with hope. These aspects are rooted in Tolkien's profound compassion to help this disheartened child, his own son, when he lost the toy dog. To console the son, the novella referendum was improvised through the face-to-face movement among human beings. 네, 여기까지이고요. 기억해 주실 거는 encourage 굉장히 중요한 것 같고요. 그런데 그 순서도 좀 기억해 주시면 고맙고요. 즐거움, 심리안, 위안이 어린이들이 책을 통해서 얻었으면 좋겠습니다. 이야기 들어주셔서 고맙습니다. 궁금하신 점 있으세요? 네.
잘 들었고요. 아까 유치원 아이들부터 지금 한 5, 6학년까지
네.
이 너스리 라임스에서 호빗 시로 지금 넘어오는 거잖아요.
네네네.
근데 그 5, 6학년 이 호빗 읽을 때까지
네.
이 아이들이 처음에 너스리 라인부터 시작을 하나를 드렸나요?
그러니까요. 그러니까 제가 지금도 말씀드렸거든요. 요즘에 대부분 어린이집 유치원에서도 다 영어 교육이 들어가잖아요. 근데 동요에 친숙하고 소리에 친숙한 어린이들은 아무래도 이해하는 과정이 되게 원활해요. 그게 되게 자연스럽게 이해가 되는데요. 그렇지 않고 갑자기 막 5, 6학년 때 시 안 들어요. 사실 진짜 안 듣습니다. 그런데 자꾸 익숙하게 해준 어린이들은 네 듣고 막 얘기해요. 제가 6학년 어린이한테 그 Rose Go Wherever 했을 때 어때? 그랬더니 선생님 막 휴양림이 있는 것 같아요. 그래서 어떤 어휘가 기억나니? 그러니까 tree, 뭐 green 굉장히 쉬운 단어잖아요. 그래서 그게 들렸대요. 그래서 그 단어가 들리니까 이미지가 휴양림 생각이 나고 그 다음에 굉장히 제가 그걸 읽어주기 전에 막 아이들 이렇게 카운트다운 시키느라고 잔잔한 노래 들려주고 목소리 천천히 막 불러줬거든요. 그랬을 땐 어린이들도 에스테틱이 있습니다. 어린이들 충분히 신비한 있어요. 그래서 어린이들도 막 시끄러운 소리 귀 막아요. 정말 아름다운 소리, 좀 윤리적인 그런 말도 어머니들이 막 잔소리 하시는 말들도 목소리 조금 예쁘게 하시면 더 잘 들리는 것 같아요. 고맙습니다.
You got it? Oh, there we are. We're there. How do I get to the start? All the stuff's sort of slightly in the way. I've got two screens on here and I can't seem to pull them together. This is annoying. How can I? Does anybody know how to pull screens together? Let me just, sorry. I'm trying to pull this. I know how to use it usually, but it's not. Some menus are not coming up available in my machine. Come on, guys. I want to have one screen, not two screens. Where is? Can anybody see my mouse?
So you want to mirror it?
I want to mirror it, yes, but the option in here doesn't come up. Please come and have a look. Yeah, but so we're going to get there. Yes. Okay. Whew, now I hope my clicker works. All right, so hello everybody. Do you need a mic? No? You're okay? All right, so today I'm going to be talking about online graded materials. My name's Dr. Rob Waring. I'm involved with ER Central, Extensive Reading Central. And today I'm going to talk to you about, we're going to start by talking about online graded materials and why it would be important to move in that direction for some of us. And then we'll look at a tool that you can use to grade materials for writing. It's not a student tool. It's a teacher's tool or an editor's tool. Let's see if the click works. Come on, boy. We moved yet? No? Yes. All right. So just a bit of background about me. I've written or edited 200 graded readers in the past. So I have a little bit of experience to share with you. These are some series that I've been working on. Whoops, I went too fast. That's the second one. It's a fiction series, and then Page Turners is a current series we're finishing up in the next few months or so. So I have a bit of experience to share with you. And these are all paper-based materials. And from my experience there, I've learned that there are some quite severe limitations to getting people actually to write stuff. In this particular series, we have we've had 350 stories being submitted to us by authors who've taken their time to write an abstract or to write a sample chapter, to write the whole thing. And of all of these texts, have a guess what percentage of those things were actually published. No, 1%. You're more pessimistic than I thought you would be. Less than 10%. Less than 10%. And that's even after spending time working with them. So the story would come and you say, oh, it's not right, it's kind of okay. So we spend hours, sometimes backwards and forwards and backwards and forwards, big drafts and so on. But some people just give up, and other people are prepared to go through the process. And we have quite a lot of stories, maybe 40, 50 stories. We've actually got almost to the end, and the author says, oh, I'm too tired, just let it go. That's because we have a certain standard of quality that we want in this particular series. We want them to be page turners, not just ordinary text. So there are issues there that we can exhaust an author by doing that. So let's go through a few of the issues with publishing print materials. How are they written? Well, this is one of the key things. one of the blocks to getting to write print materials is you've got to have a pre-contract, you've got to submit a full page. If it's acceptable, then your authors would submit the whole story. Beg your pardon. You submit a one-page proposal. You would then submit a 2 or 3 page synopsis if you're successful. So we've already got 2 rounds. And then hopefully a contract is offered. Okay, so that might take 3 or 4 months before we get to there. The next stage is you get pre-contract, where you're actually developing the material, you're actually writing the stuff. You submit a whole draft of the story, you make comments, revisions, backwards and forwards, and you ensure that the story fits the level, linguistic guidelines, and also guidelines for plot and compliance about certain things you can and can't say. And then we have a production stage where the text goes into editing, proofreading, all of this sort of stuff, art briefs, end matter, things like comprehension questions, All of that's got to be built. And then finally manufacturing and launch, where it goes off for printing. Yep. So this is a long process that can take a year or so before your wonderful idea actually gets out to students. And sometimes it can take anything up to 4 years for your story to get out there. And you can see at the end of that process, many authors, many people can get exhausted. Now, it can be rewarding. Cengage, who I work for, offered $5,000 for when you get your contract. You get $2,000 to $3,000 up front, thank you very much. And when it goes into manufacturing, you get the rest of the money. You get royalties on top of that, but you might have to wait several years because some of it's an advance, which means you have to pay back the advance through your initial royalties. But it can be very rewarding. In the end, you can get quite a serious amount of money. So for some people, it's really worth the effort, and other people, it's not. And the other type of issues we've got is, for the publisher, is to decide, for the author, you have to fit in with what the publisher wants. So, for example, they want fiction, or they want fact, or faction, or they want adaptations, or they don't want adaptations. They want you to write classics, but you don't want to write classics. They want you to write children, young learners stuff, but you don't want to do that. There's certain content that you want to put in adult material. You want a sex scene in there, for example, or something a bit racy. You want a murder in there. You want to explore certain societal ideas. Some people allow you, some people don't allow you. And art issues there as well, about what kind of art you've got. Do you like the style of art? Do you not like the style of art? Do you think that fits the story or not fits the story? So there's a lot of issues there. So how are you going to deal with a big problem you've got for writing materials? What do you do with illegals? And I don't mean people here. These are words which are out of level. So if you've got a book you're writing to, say, 700 head words, and there are some words outside that, what do you do with those? And there are big issues for an author. And you may not necessarily agree with what the publishing house has said. They may have a certain policy that says we're very, very strict about what we say, and other people may say, well, actually, I like a more relaxed style. You prefer a relaxed style of intuitive grading rather than strict. And that does cause quite a few problems. And in the previous session I was talking about before, I've actually lost relationships with people fighting over this issue, where they wouldn't comply with what the remit of the publisher was. And how many words could and should be pre-taught is an issue that you have to think about. What percentage of words can be singletons, that is, only appear once? What percentage of words should appear twice or 3 times? Because when you're writing graded material, you have to make sure that it fits a published series. There's always something out there. There are other books in the series already, and your book can't be a standalone book, in a sense. It has to fit linguistically, and has to fit with the same sort of theme that the other books in the series are. And so learning what the series is all about is quite an issue. And so one of the issues is to do with the policy to do with words. And you may have a different impression from what the publisher would have. And also about optimum break between meetings of word to ensure it's recycled. Some publishers would say, I want you to use this word again and again and again and again. Other people say, yeah, it's okay. Just whatever the story needs is what it needs, right? So there are issues there. And what coverage rates do you expect your vocabulary to have for a reader beginning at that level? So an issue there, you may disagree. You may assume that you would say words like taxi and pizza and so on. Well, everybody knows those things, but they're not in the guideline word list that you're given, right? So what do you do about those? You have to leave them out and talk about, we went out to eat this round food with some tomato sauce on it. I mean, right? You've got to be very careful about those things. So, and how many repetitions do you expect for each word at a given level? These are all big issues to do with vocabulary. This issue with compliance. Publishers are often very, very strict about what they can, you can and cannot refer to. Alcohol, sex, drugs, illegal behavior is not allowed. Bad behavior should be punished, for example. So if a kid's done something, has stolen something, by the end of the story, many publishers require that there's a comeuppance. You have to make sure that's resolved. They get punished in some way. You can't just leave it open. Now, in your story, you may want to leave it open for a particular reason. You're trying to make a point. But some publishers say, no, in the school market, you have to close that gap. You have to show that bad behavior is punished. Or it may be you shouldn't take the law into your own hands. So let's say you want to write a story. A guy's racing down the tunnel, chasing somebody else with a gun, and he runs out of bullets, and he's changing the thing. Some kids come along, jump on the criminal, for example, the guy with a gun, and some publishers would say, not allowed. Because you cannot have children taking the law into their own hands. What they should do is call the police. There's a guy over there shooting someone. I mean, this is the requirements that you get, sometimes idiotic requirements that you get. And the most famous example I have is one that with Cengage, who I was publishing with, and this was a big laugh in the publishing house. And they have to comply with rules in the US. You may have heard the No Child Left Behind policy, and there are rules about what you can and can't do. And in certain key markets, let's say in the Arab world or various other places, there are things you can and can't do. Bare-chested men, not allowed, right? So there was a story about Pocahontas, and there was an image that we had. Pocahontas, as you know, is 200 years ago, was an Indian lady, and they were canoeing down the river. So Pocahontas is in this canoe, and Pocahontas, there's a guy with her as well who has, he has a top on, right? And they're paddling along in the canoe, and this picture was not allowed. It didn't meet compliance requirements. Can anybody guess why? But men and women together. No, that would be okay. They weren't wearing life jackets. Now, this was a laugh on the publisher, right? All of us now, come on. But that was the rule. So we had to have a different image of them, for example, in the camp, right? So that's the kind of idiotic things that they have. But it doesn't meet the rules, and therefore somebody who comes along may look at that. So, it's a big money, particularly in the US schools, where they would say, a school district will buy tens of thousands of books, but they have to check all the boxes. And some people are very, very strict about what can and can't be allowed. And you get one person who's very strict, you get one box not checked, the whole series is not sold. So this is a big factor for many publishers. And there are cultural issues, religious issues. In Arabic cultures, for example, there is no concept of dating. They don't have the ideas of boyfriends and girlfriends walking around together. My series, Foundation Reading Library, I was told by the publisher cannot be sold there because the word girlfriend and boyfriend is mentioned in the series. And difference in male and female roles, what they can be expected to do and not expected to do. These are issues that certain cultures would say not allowed. In other cultures, there are other things that are and not allowed. And these are all things you have to take into account if you're writing a global material. So we've talked about some of the problems with print publishing. So why is writing online one way to solve some of these issues? Well, the world is moving online more and more, and we're becoming more digital. So whether we like it or not, digital text is definitely going to be a part of our future. And by text, I mean not necessarily written text. It could be listening, and it could be video as well. And as I said at the beginning of the presentation, publishers typically reject most texts. So if you want to actually get published, there's actually a small chance you're going to get published anyway. So you can put a lot of effort into writing something, and you may not ever actually get it published. But self-publishing is one way around that. It's a long editorial process, as I mentioned. Another very important thing for many people is they're worried about copyright. The publisher will keep copyright of your text. And the reason they need copyright is because then they can digital rights to it allows them to repackage your content in different ways. But they hold your copyright. You don't keep that. It's no longer your text. They are paying you to have your text. And some people like that, and some people don't like that. So writing online allows you to have much more control over what you own and what you don't own. If you don't like the way something is being written or something is being promoted, you can withdraw it. So self-publishing is going to be a large part of the future. And I think this sort of democratization of writing materials, which currently is held by relatively few people who write the majority of materials, I say 1% possibly of those in ELT actually write materials that get published for other people to use. And sometimes it's like a small, very small percentage of people write a lot of materials, and I'm in that category, as you know. So, you know, it allows other people, ordinary teachers, to get stuff out there. And you can showcase your abilities. Even if you don't want to necessarily publish with a publisher, you can actually show people that you do know what you're doing, and you can show what you've done. There's an outlet for your creative talent. And you can test things to hone your writing skills. So before you approach the publisher to get your blockbuster written, you can get some experience writing things online, get reaction from teachers, get reactions from students, and say, okay, well, I need to change this, I need to change that. So developing your skills is an opportunity there to do it. The other thing, too, is that publishers have a way to find you. If you've got good material online, they will find you. And there's 2 or 3 cases of publishers taking material which has been online and then printing it at later dates. So there is an opportunity there. But the big issue is privacy and piracy. Many people who are entering the digital world are saying, well, people are going to steal my stuff. You know, I don't like the idea my stuff's online because it's all going to be stolen. Well, yes, but at the same time, another way of looking at that is, well, your material can be stolen anyway. I mean, you could photocopy your material anytime you like. When it goes digital, it does make it a bit easier, but you can scan it and put it on the web in minutes, seconds if you want to. If it's good, it's going to get on the web. There's no question about that. I was kind of sad when I went to Vietnam recently, and I was looking around all the bookstores there, and I was very sad to find that my materials are not yet pirated. So my materials are not good enough yet to get pirated. But the other thing, too, about this piracy thing, I think we have to look at it in maybe different ways as well. Rather than to be afraid of it, it actually can be a friend, because it's likely also that the people who have stolen your work probably weren't your customer anyway, because they may just be downloading it just to have a look. Is this any good? Because they may not have access to this material. It's at the back end of China somewhere, or somewhere in Africa, or remote parts of Latin America. The only way they can get your material, because it's not in the bookstore, the school doesn't have it, is to download it. That's the only access they've got. And since that's the only access they've got, there's no way they could get it, or maybe not even afford your material. There was a case many years ago, Microsoft, I think, were being very smart. In Malaysia and Southeast Asia in the late 1990s, many people were ripping off copies of Microsoft Windows and all the Microsoft Office and things like that. And Microsoft knew about this. They password protected it, but they also knew that people can get around it very easily. But they were smart. Rather than clamp down, what they did is they allowed people to pirate this, because they knew that they couldn't afford $200 for the software. Nothing would be sold. So what they did is allow people to do it, get them to use computers, get them to buy computers, get years and years and using, and get locked into Windows. Then they tightened up security. Then they tightened up registration, which means that people can now no longer download. They actually have to go out and buy it. So this is also a case here where if you've written lots of stuff, you get it online, get your name really, really well known. Oh, John Smith, I really love that author, fantastic. And when the school gets richer, more materials are available, they actually go out and buy your stuff. So there's a case to be made that actually virus is not necessarily all bad. I'm not saying we should encourage it, but maybe not be so afraid of it as we have in the past. There are long-term benefits possibly. So one of the things I want to talk about today is the online graded text editor. This is a tool for teachers, a tool for materials writers, anybody who wants to check the ability, check the level of their text. So what it does is a free tool. Go ahead and use it. It's down here. That's the address, OGTE, ercentral.com, OGTE. Not a very nice name, is it, OGTE? You know, online graded text editor, but maybe we come up with a different name later. It allows users to analyze the vocabulary in a text by preset levels, allows you to write something to a specific level. And you can add your own word list if you ask nicely. So let me show you how it works. This is the tool itself. And you can see different sections. This is obviously the text here. This is some statistics. These are various options for you down here. And there's some statistics at the top here about what the text looks like and some options up here. So let me just explain what these are. You can see the different colors here. We've just pasted in the text. We've got black, which means that the text is within level. It's okay. we've got text which is red, which means it's completely out of list. And these might be proper nouns, for example. And visually you can see which would be the difficult words. The ones which are green are words which you've chosen to ignore. So this, for example, is a proper noun, and you click this word and you click ignore this word, and it just becomes green. So you can say, okay, I can ignore the green words. The red underline words are words which are in your list, but at the wrong level. So let me just clarify that for you a little bit in a second or two. So what you do, you enter the program, you choose the word list you want to work with. We've got the general word list we're working with. We've also got the general service list plus academic word list as one list. And the new general service lists are in there at the moment. But we're going to be adding more, like the Korean government list, or the Chinese government list, a TOEIC list, a business list. And these things are coming. So depending on what type of text you've got, we can do that. If you have a particular word list you want us to enter, and you've got the word list available for us, contact us, we'll stick it up. So you choose the list that you want, choose the level, the target level you want it to be. So you're thinking, okay, this text I want to be about level 10. Okay? And let's move on. So this here is the blue area is the full list of words in our database. It's 81,000 different spellings, 87,000 meanings, 81,000 different spellings. Now, a subset of that would be, say, for example, 4,500 words in the general list. Okay? Now, some of you may know it's actually only 800 and something, but this includes all the inflections. So you're not just book, it's books, and also booking. All right? So they're included as well. So you've got your general service word list, which is a subset of the blue one. Now, inside there, maybe you've chosen level 7 of this particular this level 7. So these are all the words which are inside the level. These are the ones which are out of level. Okay? So here we can have a look. And what happens is you get these various statistics for words which are in the list, words which are out of level, out of list, completely out of the list, often rare words, words which are in level, and some statistics over there. So we've got different statistics, the level that the word appears and how frequently the word appears, and it scrolls right off the page. If you want the statistics, great. If you don't want it, just ignore it. And then we've also got words for the ignore and the words which are out of list. And you can see a few of them here. I've got that. And that's just a bug in our system, which actually we've fixed since I made the slide. You can export the data. Just off you go. Export the data any way you want. Just click the export button. And it just comes in an Excel spreadsheet. And bang, there it is. Nice and easy for you to use, manipulate in any way that you want. We also have some basic stats, type token ratio, percentage in list, number out of level, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Ignore this bit down here, that's just for us. So again, that's all available for you. If you like stats, if you love stats, and you really want to comply with it, fine. If you don't want to, you want to completely ignore it, fine. So, that's the tool, and the way that it will be useful for us, I think, as a community, in one way is for you to have your own texts. So the text that you would write would be for yourself, for your own use, for your classes. Maybe if you're a materials writer or you come from a publisher, and you said, okay, it would be great to have our words in here so we can see where our words are. And it's a visual reminder. It's a visual reminder that this might be a difficult word. Now, nobody's saying to you, for example, that when we look at a text here, nobody's saying to you, you absolutely must change this word. It's your choice, of course. This is just an arbitrary, not quite arbitrary, but it's a pretty solid set of word lists, and you would choose whether you agree or disagree. You can ignore it, or you can simply say, actually, I need to change this word, which is black. It's a black word that I need to change. Yeah. So it's just a quick visual reminder. Nobody's expecting you to be absolutely strict about this. Now, part of the quality of the program depends on the word lists, right? If you have bad word lists, you can have bad output, of course. And so if you want to build your own word list, please come and talk to me, because making a word list is a nightmare. It is not easy. It's not easy at all. It's much, much, much more complex than many people understand. So please come and have I can talk for 3 hours how difficult word list making is. It's really very complex. Okay, so back where we were. So that's one thing that you can do, is to use that as a tool for yourself. Many of you may know that I myself and Charlie Brown have been working on developing a site called ER Central. And ER Central is a site to help us to, as a community, to collect texts for the community, written texts, listening texts, and share them with everybody for free. And the idea here is that we've developed a website that allows students to read and things, but it also allows you to input text, or people to input text into the system. So I just want to briefly show you what we're doing with this one. One of the choices that you have for publishing your materials online will be graded reader publishers. We've already talked about publishing materials. Graded readers we've talked about can be difficult. It's a great thing to do because you know you're going to get some money, but the bar is high. And you may not necessarily, you may have to compromise with the story that you want. But you can publish things on a blog or a PDF or an ebook, or Apple iBooks Author is another choice for you, but they're also quite strict about what you can do. For example, you have to only publish with them. You cannot not allowed to publish your material anywhere else. Or crowdsourcing website, which is our ER Central. ER Central looks like this, and in the teachers area, which is there, obviously off the main page, please ignore this black background. For some reason, I don't know why, our publishers can't seem to work out how to embed a video without having the black background. I can do it on my own site, but our developers haven't done that, and so I'm a bit annoyed with them about that. But anyway, it will go, it'll look nicer. So down here, you can see graded text editor. Down here, just click that, and then the text editor will appear. Now, ER Central, that's the OGT tool. So the ER Central reading library, here we have a searchable library of hundreds, soon thousands of texts, mostly crowdsourced, wide range of genres. You can bookmark items, and there's time speed reading area as well. So this is an example of some of the things. So the first one, these are student resources. Oops, sorry. We've got the library, sample text. This one here is for audio. This is an audio text. The audio section's up here. Speed reading, vocab learning, and a thing called Text Helper, which I'm not going to talk about now, but please have a look. So this is our library. You can search by level. You can search by title. You can search by, for example, genre. And we've got lots and lots of text here, and the level is shown on all of these things. This is an example. When you click a text, you get some more detail about the text, what score it would be, what level, and all the stats and stuff. You can bookmark it and keep it in a little area for yourself, or you can read the book. These are the bookmarks that you've got, and if you want to, you can just trash it, take it out of your bookmarks. It goes back to the library. This is a sample text. We've got a picture. We've got a title. This is the person who's the author, and up here it tells you how much time you've been reading. We have the ability here, any word can be right-clicked and saved to a learning environment. We talked about that before. You can do that. The other thing too about the text is everything is rated. It's rated here so that students will get some kind of an idea of an adaptive rating level. Students read a text, they rate it, so that other students know whether it's nice or not. Speed reading panel, again, you click a text, and up comes the thing, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And there we have the speed reading, and you've got the time, the number of words, and you click I've finished, and everything's okay. And you can see the result at the end there. Right, so ER Central, as you can see, is this we want it to be a community site. It's a site for us, not just for Charlie and me, but for us. This is something we want to have you would help us if you can with getting some text, maybe yourself directly or maybe some other people. So anybody can add materials. We can upload them using the ER Central's text creation editor. First thing to do is make an account. Very simple. Takes about a minute. Easy and quick text entering. You can add images if you wish. Add comprehension questions if you choose to. You don't have to. And you can decide the level. I didn't mention it, but you can add audio if you wish. This is only something we put in the last couple of weeks. We talked before about the graded text editor. So that's what it looks like as a graded text editor. So a different version of the same tool is this. This is the text creation editor, and you've got various windows that do various things. So over here we've got the sort of text input area. This is a blank screen that you would get. This is the text input area. This is the metadata where you put in, like, for example, the blurb or attribution. You add the audio is here. Choose the genre, choose the level, add comprehension questions. And this is all the statistics which you saw over in this one. This is the same. That there is the same as this. Okay? So let's look at it in a bit more detail. This is one that's completed. And so we have the text over here with an image. You've got different templates of where the image would go. So here the image is on the left. Here the image is on the left, but portrait. Across the top, as you can see, this one. And that's just a different style. So here we've got the text itself, and you can see highlighted in various colors. And let's look at these things in a bit more detail. So there we are. The various sections do various things. And if you don't like all those various sections, there's too many of them, it's confusing, what you need to do is just click the blue bar and whoop, it all goes to the left, so it doesn't distract you. Okay? Sometimes people have a small computer screen, so there you go. So in detail, the metadata tells you how many words there are, choose the level. There's 2 levels, I won't explain what they are, but that's the target level, and that's the level you decide to enter the text. You can choose the genre, factual, story, or for children, and all the various genres appear there. Choose what that is. Put in a blurb, attribution. This came from Paul Nation. Thank you very much, Paul. And some data down here about the thing. This is the stats, as I said before, and this is the various things that you would just enter into the system. Comprehension questions, if you wish. You have to put in a minimum of 3, maximum of 8. And these are just examples, and we can see it's multiple choice, and you select the right answer there, and then you can add more questions down the bottom here, and so on. Only multiple choice at the moment, so that's the easiest thing to deal with analytically. These are the templates. You've got different template formats that you could use, depending on how you like. What you do with an image is you choose an image that you want. If you don't want an image, that's fine. We have a default image which goes for all texts. Default image, so you can just choose the image, and then you crop it, you decide what area that you want, and then bang, off you go. We'll try and do this live in a minute or two. And then you have to agree to the terms and conditions, which are basically, I'm not uploading anything illegal. I'm not trying to sell something. I own this text. That is, you own the text. I agree that I own it. I agree that I can download it. I can delete it anytime I want to. I can sell it anywhere else I want to. So this is just telling you that it's your text, but please don't do anything naughty. Okay? It's very simple. What happens then is we then send it to the editorial side, which is where I look at, the admin side. People will submit text to us. We then look at that. Actually, I've sort of got a text out of order here. Oh, no, it doesn't matter. I'll come back to it. And so one of the features of the site is that you can see the words here in different colors. That allows us here to tag the words by meaning sense. So this is the word call, for example. And this is a short form of, it's not a definition at all. This is just a short form to me to recognize which word meaning sense it is. So we've got called over here, and that clearly called, they are called the Pacific Islands. It's that meaning. Meaning of call, meaning name. Not call telephone, not call at someone, and so on. It's not call away, call back, and so on. So I would tag the word in there in the editing process to make sure the students see the right meaning when they go into the word learning environment. What type of text will we take? Basically anything. Really don't care. Pocahontas is fine. No problem at all. Nothing offensive or libelous, please. But we do have filters, or we will have filters for sensitive materials. We talked before about compliance, sensitive issues like we talked before, cultural issues, sex roles, and so on and so on and so on. We'll have a filter where you can just say, yes, I want this, no, I don't want this. Yes, I want this, no, I don't want this for my students. And that's only for institutions. The teacher decides what the students can see. Individually, just choose anything. Right? We can't stop that. I'm not quite sure whether I've got that again. Anyway, there you go, another one. The editorial process, what we will do is we'll check for typos and spelling mistakes. Ensure the text is suitable. Add comprehension questions if you don't want to, fine. We might slightly change them if we find one or two of your questions are too easy or too hard. Image will be entered if you don't want to. We tag the text semantically. That's what I said before about choosing the meaning sense. And then we'll just upload it. Hopefully in a day or so, maybe a couple of days later. It's quite a simple process, not very difficult. It takes on average, if you've already written the text, it takes probably about 6 minutes to put one text up. I've timed it. Yeah, it's not that difficult. There are copyright issues, of course. We do provide guidelines about what kind of stuff that we would like you to put up in terms of copyright. The copyright stays with the author. It's always your text. It's always your text, not ours. We don't. We just act as a host. We're just holding it for you. The author should ensure that they meet the copyright requirements. If you've taken text from somewhere else or an idea from somewhere else, please, in the attribution field, please let us know where you got the idea from. You can delete the text anytime you want to. But we do reserve the right to scan any text for plagiarism using copyscape.com. That allows us to just check that it's not actually somewhere else. There will be people who want to help a lot, but just paste from web pages, and we have to watch that. And anybody who does it too much, we'll give them a message. Now, types of text which are acceptable will be your original text. It's your text, you've written it yourself, off you go, totally cool. Now, you can take ideas from somewhere else, but it has to be rewritten by you. So let's say you've seen a web page somewhere and you want to write about it. Then you can take that idea, this is a great idea, maybe borrow an idea from here, and write the text yourself. And you could even quotations. On so-and-so day, the BBC reported, da-da-da-da. Even quotations is fine from that, but not too long, not, like BBC said and then 3 pages. Right, and out of copyright material is perfectly okay if you've got that as well. There are quite a lot of stuff that's out there. Please make sure that you've got copyright. And if you do have access to the material, put it in the blurb, put it in attribution so you remember. We don't want people coming back to you 2 years later, oh, by the way, where did you get that from? Oh, I can't remember. Right, stick it in there so you know and we know. And it covers your back, it covers our back. But there's some stuff which is borderline. So there's a kind of thing called educational use, and this is for education. It's free. We're not making money out of this. The text where information is borrowed from another source but is rewritten even with the same structure. So you might get, let's say, a short story from somewhere. You say, oh, this is a great story. I'll do that. I'll change this word in the second sentence. I'll change this word in the third sentence. But the structure is the same. It's basically still somebody else's work. So do be careful about that. Long cited passages, but not too long. But do mention in the blurb that you've borrowed the information. I would suggest that you maybe take the text from somewhere else and think, okay, what's that text? Then rewrite it in your words. Often I've found with shorter text, it's easier to do that. It takes less time. We were talking before about readability in the colloquium, that sometimes Marcus was saying that it's harder to take somebody else's text and adapt it down than it is to actually write the text for yourself. So I found it certainly easier to do that. Unacceptable, verbatim copying, copy-paste, and text which largely retain the original structure and language with only just changing 1 or 2 words. That's absolutely not acceptable. I don't think anybody would want to do that. So, if you're not sure, contact us. What we will do is put it up in the attribution where you can say text taken from, source from, da-da-da-da-da. If you are the rights holder and want to have this deleted, please contact us. Here's how to do so. Okay? And we want to be fair to people as well. If you want to be an author, you can contact me here or there, or just go and log online. You can go online to ER Central. Do you want to have a look, see how it works? Last time I did this, it didn't work. You know the way it goes. So let's get out of here. All right. So where am I now? I'll go away. Now this might not work. Okay. One of the problems we've got here, I'll save that. One of the problems we've got here is that the screen I usually use is quite a bit bigger than what you actually see here. Oh my gosh, you're not going to see this at all on this small screen. Okay. So this is what the editor looks like on my tiny screen. I might be able to, let me just see if I can narrow it down. There we go. All right. So this is what it looks like. This is a normal, this is live, totally live here. So this is me logged in as Rob. I take a text, say like this one, copy the text. Where am I? Back to, there. Back to here. So what I'm then going to do is I'm going to enter the title. What was the title? Better to be unlucky. Okay. This is just a text I borrowed from the web somewhere. Where am I? Better to be unlucky. So we just enter the title. Okay, there we go. And it's going to be, let's say it's a story, possibly human interest. I don't know. I'm not quite sure. Paste the text. Bonk. There you go. And immediately what it's doing is it's calculating all the math for me. The reason it takes a bit of time, what happens with this, and the same with OGTE, it's loading all the code to your browser. This is not actually happening on our servers. So there's a lot of security here with the text. You don't actually, we never see your text. We never see, the text is on your browser, calculating in your browser. So if you just close the window, we will never see it. There's no opportunity for you with OGTE to save text to our server. We will never know what text you've got. Now in this system, text creation editor, we're encouraging you to save text with us. But there we are. So you can see all the stats are there. We then enter some information. Let's say we want it, I've only chosen level 1. I'll make this maybe level 7. Should recalculate. There we go. So now I've chosen a different level. You can see all the colors will change. Yes, you see them all change automatically. We can add a blurb, attribution, and I'm not going to put in, I might just put in 1 or 2 comprehension questions. All right, so comprehension question 1 is option A, B, C, answer B. It's just hard to do because it's a really tiny screen. Maybe I'll make it slightly bigger for me. Where's plus? Plus, where are you? There, try that. Anyway, never mind. Go down a little bit more. So question 2, there we go, and then A, B, C, and then here, A, oops, too far, A, B, C. All right, and I've just got to choose the right, I don't know if I've got the right answers here. The problem is it's too small. Yes, okay, that's coming up. There we go. And the answer's B is B. Come on, which one are you going to work? The screen's too small. There we go. Did I miss it? I don't know, we'll find out. Anyway, so you've entered the information. Now you can choose an image. So we choose an image, and what I've done is I've been previously to, whoops, oh, wrong one. I've been to this web page, I found this picture, see how it works. So what I've done here is whoops, stop jumping around. What's happening there? Did I just click that away? I did. Oh my God. Go back. So we're going to take the image here, if I can. I think I've already saved this. Okay, so save the image to my directory, which is there. And then I'm going to save the image URL. Go back to where I was in the, oops, close this. I'm going to now choose my image, upload an image. This is so hard to do with this tiny screen. Upload the image. It will now come on. There we go. I'm going to find it, which is desktop screenshot uploaded images. I think it was the first one, wasn't it? Yep, there you go. Choose this one. Enter. Upload the image. There it goes. Image appears there, and then I can crop it to however I want to. So I want that part of the image, something like that is what I'm going to keep. I just insert the image, and that appears in the text. Okay? Then I have an opportunity here to, oh, sorry, I should put in the attribution. Image was found, whoops. Image was found there. We kept that, right? So now what we're doing is save this to the reading library. We're going to save it to the reading library or to the listening library. This is a reading library text. And it tells me I haven't completed 3 questions. Oh my gosh. So I have to find out. ABC, that's fine. There was something I didn't click, right? Which one can you see which one it is? I can't see. This screen is too small. Plus. That's too small. Nope. I'm trying to get plus. Try plus. Aha! I said you can move them away, right? Okay, so where are we? This is the one that's not got one. Okay, we should be okay now. And now we can save this to the reading library and submit. And so, yes, yes, this is my text, and bang, off it goes. In here, in this part of the text, the part of the site here, you've got to this is the text creation editors where you find it. Once you've logged in, text creation editor. Now, this is a list of all of the text that you've made. Yeah, this is your list of your text. There they are. And we've just found, where's the text that you just made? It disappeared. Oh my gosh. So anyway, so the list of your text is there. And there's a help file there as well. Wonder why that didn't save it. That was really weird.
Maybe it wasn't approved yet.
No, I'm going to need to approve it. So this is the help file. This is the help file that tells you what you should do. Tells you how to work these. So it gives you all the screenshots, tells you exactly how to do things, as I've just shown you right now. Okay. So if I now go to the editor area, which is the editor area, this is my editor area, this is a different screen. Get rid of this tiny little thing. Okay. I can now scroll through. Let me just refresh and see if the text appeared. This has got a long list of all of the text that we've got in the system. As an editor, I'm now going in to see how it works. And I go, might take a while. Okay. Right the way down to the end there. Oops. Okay, so it looks like the text hasn't appeared, and that's very surprising. Okay, so here's a text which, let's just see if I can find which has been submitted by someone. Published. I think we've published them all. Oh my gosh. Never mind. So what we'll do is, what would happen is, I just picked this one. So now what's happening is, in the editor area, now pulling up the text that the teacher has, or somebody has submitted to us, and it's almost identical to what was happening before, you saw before. Yeah, it's almost identical. The only difference here is in this screen, what I can do once it calculates all the math of stuff, the analyzer is on. It's got slightly different colors, and you see some are now in blue. What I can do here is I would choose, so I click that word, and I can now choose it'd be able to be part of, not whole of something. So that's now registered that particular meaning sense into the system, and now I'm ready to publish. And when I go to the library, that text will now be live. So that's how the system works. If you're interested in wanting to work with us to give us some text, please contact me. Please let me know. Please come and talk to me. It might not be text that you have written. It may be something that you found on the web that you think might be useful, or maybe a friend wants to be a writer. It can be short text, anything from kids material, fiction, non-fiction, poetry, anything you want. We'll put it up. So if you want to help out, please do so. Because the site, I think, will be useful for the community only when we have lots of texts and we have a chance for students to read lots of stuff, get data, so we can help our students in the long term. So, thank you for your time.
If it's in English. Okay.
I have just become.
Okay, where does it say start show?
Are you ready? All right.
I want to make it big.
Okay, that's.
It's not a PowerPoint, it's a PDF.
It's a PDF.
Yeah, I made it on my Mac.
Oh no, that's good. Oh, it's this one here, the middle one there.
No?
No, that doesn't do it.
I want to make this full screen.
Okay.
이쪽에 있지 않습니까? 텍스트 옆에요. 도구 옆에. 도구 왼쪽.
It's my pleasure to introduce Melanie Gobert, who is from Abu Dhabi Men's College, Higher Colleges and Technologies, which is a huge set of campuses. And how many? 8, 9?
17, and we just got an email from the director saying that for the first time in our history, we are 25 years old. We have more than 20,000 students enrolled this year, but not on one campus.
It's a huge program, and extensive reading is slowly being introduced over the university. And Melanie is also the future president for Seoul, Arabia. So she wears many hats, has quite a long list of qualifications. So we are looking forward to hearing from you, please.
Now,
yes, ma'am, what would you like?
I will have to stand here to move this. There's no button?
I think, no, it doesn't. But here's the mouse. Would you like me to move it for you?
Yeah, will you just stand there? Because I like to move around when I talk and see my slides. Oh, thank you.
Oh, we're getting some higher technology here. But this is not a PowerPoint. Okay, it's
The clicker should still advance.
Does it?
Does the clicker advance or not?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, Stop showing my stuff.
This is
Thank
forward,
you.
this is backward, this is laser. Don't touch these because I don't
Thank
know what
you
they're
so much for sharing. Okay, all right, now we're ready to start. Okay, this is the name of the talk. This was a small-scale study that I had funded by the Emirates Foundation. And this is the outline of the talk. Now, I'll go a bit quickly here, so I hope we save time for questions and discussion at the end. And, of course, we're running about 5 minutes behind with all of that. So this is the outline of the talk. Okay. Now, to start us off, I have some questions for you. Okay. What's your favorite book? Anybody? What's your favorite book? Do you have one?
Oh, I like mysteries from different various authors. No one favorite. No.
Anybody? Do you have a favorite book?
Special picture books field.
You like?
And then Tommy the Ballast with that.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes.
Pickwick Papers, Charles Dickens.
Charles Dickens is your favorite book? Pickwick Papers. It's a good one. How many times have you read it?
Only once.
Only once? Very long. Okay, anybody, what are you reading at the moment? It is an extensive reading conference. I haven't seen very many people reading books at the conference. Are you reading something?
Always.
Okay, what are you reading at the moment?
At the moment, I'm reading a book called Finite and Infinite Games.
Who?
It's James P. Karsh. It's a philosophy book.
Okay, let's see. Okay.
Reading Cloud Atlas.
Cloud, how is it? Is it better than the movie? The movie didn't get great reviews.
I don't want to spoil the book, but I got halfway through the first time and hit the sci-fi futuristic bit, couldn't get past it, and now I'm trying again. So I'm back to the beginning and start again.
I'm reading Charlie and the Chocolate Factory in Japanese.
Oh.
You just finished The Cuckoo's Calling. You know that one?
The Cuckoo's Calling, that is J.K. Rowling's, and I just read that, and it was a good book.
Really good.
I like that character, Strike. I can't wait to read the next one. Yeah? I hope she keeps writing them. Do we have any people from Korea in the audience? Anyone from Korea? If you could raise your hand. Okay. One person?
The ones that are smiling.
Okay. Tell me, what are some famous books? Famous Korean books or authors? Because I don't know any. Famous Korean books I should read. But you know, I'll have to read the English translation. Yeah? Nothing?
소나기.
How do you say that?
Shower.
Showers? Okay. Anything else? Only one book? Korea is a very old culture. Lots of people.
I recommend the author 조정배.
What kind of books does he or she write?
He writes novel, but it's like a very, very long stories based on Korean history.
So that might be interesting for me.
Is it okay for picture books as well?
Picture books?
Yes, 이호배, and then the umbrella by ERWC2.
Okay. You know, when I go home, I will be Googling these books and looking for translation. Famous Korean books, okay? Last one. Has anyone ever had a bad reading experience? Okay, just think if you've ever had a bad reading experience, and I'll share mine with you. Yes?
Just English lessons at school. When I had to read books at school, generally.
But looking back, have you ever started reading those books again, like Pickwick Papers? Yeah? Yeah. I had a bad reading experience when I was about 7 or 8 years old. My mother read to me. I was a good reader. I took a book on Josephine Bonaparte from the library, but maybe this book was for 12 or 13-year-olds. But I read that book. And the librarian said, "You didn't read this book," when we went back. And I said, "I did read it." "What's it about?" "Well, it's about Josephine, Napoleon Bonaparte's wife." "You did not read that book. Take this book. This book is your level." Okay? And this book that she gave me was some kind of book about Tommy the squirrel and his friend Arnie the chipmunk or something like that. And I read one page of that book. And then the next trip to the library, yes, she got me again and she said, "What was that book about?" And because I hadn't read it, except one page, I said, This book was about a squirrel who lived in the forest in the Netherlands, and the squirrel was great. Every single detail I could remember from page 1, and she said, see, you did read that book. Congratulations. That's my bad reading experience. Okay, I went to Saudi Arabia quite a long time ago, so I'm a citizen of the Gulf now. That's my husband, and that was the start of our family. Young bride, and English teacher. Then we moved to the UAE, not in 2008, but in 2001. So we raised our kids in the Gulf. And here is me recently, and I'm reading probably what has become my favorite book because I've read it so many times. Now, I think that's the introduction is finished. Now we're moving on to becoming a successful L1 reader. Okay, one of the things we know, okay, for people that are successful readers in their first language, especially in the English-speaking world, the home is rich in literature. Okay, now I'll ask you all one more question. How many books do you have at home? How many books do you have at home?
Most of mine are in my office.
Well, how many are there?
Probably a couple thousand more.
Couple thousand. How many books do you have at home? 500? 10,000? Okay. So I'm assuming we're all successful readers. Okay? We know the home is rich in literature. If you can count the number of books in your home, like, and you say 25 books, probably not rich in literature. Yeah? That is necessary for becoming a successful reader in your L1. The home should be rich in literature. Okay? Another way we know that people become successful reading, at least in L1 English, from years of research across the United States, Australia, the UK, is reading begins early. Look over here. This is how old? 6 months? 4 months? Any of you have that in your home life when you were little? Raise your hand. Only 3 people? Any Korean people have that at home? Did your parents read to you when you were little? Did your parents read to you? Mom and dad, or just mom? Mom? Okay, usually it's the mom, but one time when I was speaking with a British colleague, he came to our college to find out how I had gotten the research grant, and I was explaining what my research was about. And he said to me, I know why English speakers like to read. Because when their dad came home from the office on the train, I guess in London, you know, he read to us before we went to sleep. Well, I didn't have that experience because my mom was the one who read to me, okay? But it shows you just how important and key that experience is. Whoops. Okay, how about this? Do you have any Korean bathtub books that children get to read in the tub while their mom bathes them? Okay. Anybody here not from Korea who read bathtub books or bought them for their children? I think adults also sometimes read in the bathtub, you know, when we have some space and free time, but the pages get wet and then, you know, other people don't want to borrow our books because they're humid. Okay, and here we're moving to school, right? We know that there's a big gap from studies done in America. There's a big gap for kids who come from literacy-poor environments, whose parents don't read to them when they start school. We've tried to address that with programs like, I think it was the Johnson's administration Head Start program. Yeah? But look what happens at school. It's still shared. We have a significant other. The teacher, big picture books, they're being read to. It's nice. Do you learn how to read like that in Korea? Does the teacher read to you? Okay, we also know that, in English anyway, it has to be the two systems together. Okay, we have a lot of common words that are actually not phonemically regular, so we call those sight words, yeah, like could and would, C-O-U-L-D. How would somebody know that that wasn't pronounced cold or wold when they saw it? Because it rhymes with G-O-O-D, right? And so we do both, the cat and the hat, that's phonics, right? And these sight words, every, has, her, him, his. How would somebody learning how to read in English know that the S was pronounced Z if they didn't know the word? So these words are exceptions, and we have to learn both together when we're small and we learn how to read. But it's not like that in Korean, is it? You only need this system, yeah? One letter, one sound. Lucky, okay? Lucky. Okay, something else happens too, and I think the United States and Australia are getting better about this, but surely back in the 50s and 60s, unless the book was about the ugly duckling or something like that, you know, you really read about people like yourselves. Okay? When did you first start reading a book about another culture that took place in another culture from your own? If you're English here in the audience, when did you first read about, you know, a French book or a Chinese book that took place in there? When? How old were you?
I think pretty much right away. My first book that I loved, my favorite book, was about the North American Indians. So
very good.
That would be another culture.
And so you were very young when you read that.
Pretty young.
I don't think I started reading stories that took place in another culture till I was about 11 or 12. I can remember becoming enamored with French literature and reading the Three Musketeers and that stuff, but not in French. Let me make that clear. The English translation. Okay? And nowadays, we are fortunate because there has been a change, right? And we can read, Americans of all different walks of life can read about people like themselves. Now, I'll just show you. This is I found online. These are Korean American children's books, yeah? How My Parents Learned to Eat for Japanese Americans. I assume the story is about the two cultures coming together to make one person. Here, Dreaming Up. This is Esperanza Rising. Okay, and up here, do you recognize this? I Love My Dad's Long Beard. Okay, so American children's literature is becoming more inclusive. It's not ideal because, of course, you can still find 1,000 books about nice, white, Anglo-Saxon people. But at least we are rising to the challenge, and in the schools also. Okay? Now, I think we're going to look at reading in L2 English. Okay, now ESL methodology for reading has been heavily informed by reading as a psycholinguistic guessing game. And this was from early research by Goodman and Smith back in the late 60s. And it focused on the eye movements, okay? Where did a fluent reader's eyes pause and go back and continue? So they said, fluent readers predict, hypothesize, read to confirm, and check. Well, you know, this is about the heyday of the time when ESL methodology was being born, you know, in the 70s and 80s. So in English, we call that, for native speakers, we call that whole language or top-down reading, right? So when we learn for being trained as teachers of ESL, we learn, and it doesn't matter if you took CELTA or a master's in the States, you learn activate their schema, okay? Give them little jigsaw reading, little skimming and scanning for chart building, ask them a few questions at the end, and you're teaching reading, Okay, we're all here for the extensive reading conference, so we know how important it is to read extensively. But this is what we still have, right? Anybody disagree with that? Okay, and then we also have, I want to say Alderson, but I think originally it was someone else, maybe Cummins or somebody who said, there's a threshold hypothesis, okay? If you come to reading in English, you know, as a mature adult who reads well in your own language, you don't have enough of the target language to make what you know in your first language work for you when you're reading. There's a threshold. And I saw some interesting presentations here at the conference on extensive reading that they're thinking that threshold might be around 300,000 words. Yeah, so if you want to know how much extensive reading you should do before you can start using the strategies for reading that you have in your own language to English, around 300,000 words. But for me, it's not important. If it's a language problem or a reading problem, it's a problem, right? My students especially hate reading, hate everything about it. So, you know, I was busy on Google. I found all those cool books, and then I Googled reading in ESL. And you can find hundreds and hundreds of these things. So it's always the same old stuff, like read, answer these questions, you know. Here's a few vocabulary. Okay, and now we come to, of course, extensive reading, which I promote and we all should promote. But I looked carefully also. I mean, it occurred to me that most of the graded readers, and they do this because it's cheaper, right? They produce a lot of classics. If you were at the quiz last night, Frankenstein has been published 14 times as a graded reader. This is quite Anglo-centric, I think that's fair to say, yeah? So what we do is we take our students who may not be good readers in their own language. There might be reasons for that, okay? And then we bring them into reading in English as a second language, but then they don't get that experience of reading about themselves. They get the experience of right away reading about English people or American people. And this can even make it difficult for students to understand the text that they're reading. And if you read some classics, you know, graded reader classics with your students, sometimes they don't work because there's too many characters. But one thing is sure, the student, the learner, whatever culture or language heritage they are from, are not represented very well. Right? Is that fair to say? So, welcome to my culture. You're not in it. That's big problems. It's big problems for Americans back in the 70s and 80s who didn't see themselves in that culture. Why would you want to read about a culture where you're not represented? Why would you even want to join that culture? You're excluded. But there are some signs of hope. Okay? Jojo's story. Does anyone know that one? It's about a little, I think it won the Language Learner Literature Award. That's why I bought it for my students. Excellent book. Okay? And The Best of Times, I think, won the Language Learner Literature Award last year. And I think the hero is a Malaysian or Singaporean teenager. I haven't read that book. I've just heard about it. Memoirs of a Geisha. But of course that was actually written by an Australian or American or British man, but you know, the culture, the context is there. It's a good book. Falling Leaves, that takes place in China, and it's written by a Chinese American doctor. It's her biography. These are higher level books, yeah? So not for like level 5, level 6 graded readers. But Oxford has stepped up a bit because Rabbit Proof Fence, very good book from Australia. I think they've also published Ned Kelly. Okay, Cries from the Heart. I think they have like some short stories from Asia and some short stories from I want to say like Turkey, this region. But I've read them with my students, Gazing at Stars. My students they have problems relating to short stories. Again, it's too many characters, or they don't know the culture at all. So these books were not these two books were not successful with my students. Yeah. And I did find this. I went on the MReader site because I thought I could get a lot of book covers quickly, but a lot of them are really tiny. But I did find this. These are Japanese stories, I think, graded reader published series. Are there any Korean stories or literature published as graded readers that you know about?
In English?
Are there any? Any Hispanic novels like Gabriel Marquez published as graded readers? But who are we targeting? Who are we trying to teach English to? You see? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with extensive reading. I want to push the publishers to step up their game a bit. Okay? And it's starting. We need to, how do we get the publishers to do anything in the ESL field? We have to say to them, do you have any Korean graded readers about Korean culture and society? And if they hear that about 2,000 times, maybe somebody in the editorial board will say, you know, we could publish some graded readers of Korean literature. Maybe that would interest our students. So it is up to you as teachers to push the publishers, right? Okay. Oops. Okay. And of course, my context is the Gulf. So I looked closely to see what was available for our students. Sinbad, they probably also, if they have 14 of Frankenstein, they probably have 12 of Sinbad. Aladdin in the Enchanted Lamp. Sinbad and Aladdin are both stories from 1001 Nights. And these stories actually came from Iraq. Okay? And then here we have The Curse of the Mummy. So I have called this page Stereotypes for the Arab World. And if you know anything about the history of Tales from 1001 Nights, this was a British Arabist who traveled in this area, and he collected the stories, and he wrote them for a Victorian audience, so they were very, very risque. We don't know if there's really any truth in those stories at all. I find it hard to believe because you know, Arabs are Muslim and have been for a long time, and it's a very conservative society. So I think he really spiced it up for his Victorian readers. But there are stereotypes for the Arab world. Our students take it and they feel happy, but you know, they have progressed a lot since the time of Sinbad and Aladdin. And we know also how Arabs are even portrayed in modern films. You know, they're always the bad guy, right? The kidnapper, the terrorist. You know, they're often portrayed also as, you know, cheats and liars. And this literature also portrays Arabs in that way. So not ideal, really, reading for the students. They think they will like it, but then they don't. And again, Oxford actually has stepped up to the plate a bit, okay? Julie Till, the one who wrote The Drive to Dubai and Mystery in Muscat, is actually the area regional rep from Oxford, and I think she really fought hard to get these published. Okay, but again, it's like when our students read that, they get happy, and then it's sort of like Memoirs of a Geisha. The story was written actually by a Westerner, so it doesn't have the subtleties of their context and what's really happening in their society, so it becomes quite unbelievable for them. But they think they're going to like it a lot at the beginning. And they have also published the travels of Ibn Battuta and Saladin. Okay, these are nonfiction, and it's a bit dry. And it's funny also because, you know, the travels of Ibn Battuta, we have a big mall called Ibn Battuta, but if you sit next to an Arab from Egypt and you say, tell me about Ibn Battuta, usually they're just like, I don't know. That's so old from history, I don't know about him. I don't really know. So sometimes Westerners know more about Saladin and Ibn Battuta than the locals. But there are signs of hope. Now, I did have my a qualitative study funded by the Emirates Foundation, and here's a nice quote for you and why it's important what we're doing, what we do with our students. Because, you know, if you are, language and culture is so much a part of your identity and who you are, we need to empower our students. Okay, now a little background, because you might not know very much about the Gulf. Okay, how am I doing for time? Almost out? 1:30?
Well, between 10 and 15 minutes.
Okay, so 5 male Emirati classes and 1 female, 60 students. It was at Abu Dhabi Men's College. For those of you who don't know very much about the United Arab Emirates, it's a federation of 7 sheikdoms. It was founded in 1971. It was not a former British colony, okay? If it were a British colony, they tend to have developed a hospital system, an educational system, a civil service system, but there was a lot of piracy in the Gulf, so they were just there to stamp down on that piracy, and it was just a protectorate. So they didn't actually build any hospitals or any schools or, you know, make a civil service structure or anything like that. And I think the UAE is very unique. Now, I have lied a little bit on these figures. It's actually like 18.2% nationals, locals, okay? And then the rest are foreign workers. Now, the majority of them come from the Indian subcontinent, okay? But there are also a lot of Arab foreign workers there from the Middle East and North Africa. And there are also a lot of people from Korea, or they're working for Samsung and USA, yeah? Japan, Japanese oil company. This would make up the 80%. Okay, now they are currently undergoing major curricular reform because the parents were very upset because when their children went to government schools, the education was so inferior to the private schools. More than 50% of the locals send their children to private schools. So 4 years ago, the government reached deep inside its pockets, which are very, very deep, and it just pulled out tons and tons of money to reform the educational system because the parents were so unhappy. And they realized, like any country does, our youth is our future. It's the gold of the future. It's an investment, long-term investment. But the problem is that they hired a lot of educational consultants from different countries like Canada, Australia, US, UK, and they threw out the entire traditional curriculum that was imported actually from Kuwait, that the British had given Kuwait, but it still had things like Islamic studies and, you know, local history and culture. Now the little children are reading, you know, sociology textbooks written in America or Australia, so they're not getting a lot of their cultural identity and the borrowed curriculums. But again, you know, educational change is dynamic. It's not static. So these problems are being addressed, but it might take 20 years before they're addressed adequately, right? And my study was funded by the Emirates Foundation, so I have to give them praise where praise is due. Okay, so for those of you who still aren't sure about the United Arab Emirates, see, I made a little map for you. Here we are. And here you are. Okay? Okay, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but you should know that Emiratis are really bad readers, even in Arabic. It's a non-reading society. Okay? The TIMS and Jazzer's ethnographic study, most 75% of the students have fewer than 25 books in the home. So this is literacy poor. They might have 2 Lexus and a Mercedes in the driveway, but they have 25 books or less in the home. And this is sort of the opposite of what you would find in Australia or the States. If they didn't have 25 books in the home, they probably would just have like an old beat-up Buick or nothing, right? Okay, and also extensive reading is not encouraged when they're taught how to read in Arabic. Arabic is a very transparent language, like Korean, maybe even more so, because it's one sound, one letter. So it's very easy for the children to learn how to read, but they're not encouraged to read extensively in Arabic. Even Arabic novels are taught intensively. Lots of questions. So it's like ESL methodology for teaching reading in teaching Arabic reading. So our students have a lot of really negative connotations from reading. Yeah? I don't think that's true in Korea, though, right? Do Koreans like reading in Korean? Yeah? Okay, well, our students don't usually like reading in Arabic either. Okay? And also, you know, there has been research that there is a different lexical access route to Arabic, that they need a whole word. They need to see the word in context because they don't write the short vowels. So you have a lot of words like bank and bank that they actually need the whole context of the sentence to access the meaning. Whereas in English, if we see sun, S-O-N, and sun, S-U-N, we can access it right away. But what they have is they have to look at the whole sentence, not just the word, every time they read a word to access the meaning. So it's challenging to read in Arabic. And then also they have Arabic diglossia. So they have different versions of Arabic. The high version is the classical Quranic Arabic. No one uses that language anymore. They're not even very good with it. And then they have a second version of Arabic, which they learn how to read and write. This is called Modern Standard Arabic. And Arabic was standardized at the turn of the century, the last century. So it's quite archaic as well. Okay? And then they have their colloquial dialects. So the people who speak Arabic in Morocco speak a completely different Arabic from the Gulf and a completely different one from the Levantine countries. Yeah? So what used to happen is like cartoons would be translated into this fuchsia Arabic. So at least that would help the kids learn the modern standard Arabic for reading and writing. But now with digital technology, you know, it's like your target audience. So some cartoons are in Gulf Arabic, some cartoons are in Egyptian Arabic. Whatever their target audience is, they can now translate the cartoon or the TV show in that. So it makes it very challenging for our students don't read well in Arabic for all of these reasons. So they don't have a lot of skills to transfer to reading in English. Okay, so what's happening there also is, you know, there's a huge foreign influence on the minds of young people. And the government does make efforts to promote their national culture, which is a blend of Arabic and Islamic cultures, okay? And on the other hand, like, embracing these Western beliefs leaves behind their indigenous and traditional beliefs because, for example, individualism. I think this is a value of the English-speaking world, but this is not a value of Arabic Islamic societies. Their society is more collective. It's more for the good of the group than the good of the individual. One's identity becomes the personal attributes. So the young people are adopting these values through this, you know, through digital technology, movies, the educational system. It's like a constant barrage, right? And let me move through this more quickly. So they have this situation of linguistic dualism, okay? So these are the things that Arabic is associated with, and these are the things that English is associated with. So you can see how the young people are, you know, they're trapped between two worlds. Okay. Now, in my study, I simplified with a team of other teachers, not by myself. We simplified this Emirati literature. Now, these two books are a collection of short stories written in Arabic originally and published in the 1990s by an Emirati who studied at Syracuse University. This is a book written, it was published in 1995, but it takes place between the mid-50s to the 70s, okay? So it's sort of like a bridge between the new and the old, okay? This is a very famous book written by a British explorer who explored the empty quarter, this big, huge desert in Saudi Arabia and Oman. And he went there after the Second World War. He went 3 times between 1946 and 1948, okay, and explored this area. And he is a travel writer. It's a brilliant travel log. It's my favorite book. I've read it so many times. Okay, so, you know, we simplified the books. We made prototypes of the books. The students read books. And we collected discussion board postings, and we, you know, analyzed it for themes. So here is a long list of themes, and I haven't grouped them, but just to give you an idea of what the students were writing about, what's important to them. Bedouin culture, the desert, camels. And most of the students enjoyed the books. A few didn't. They said, I prefer to learn about the past from my parents. The last one, I hope to back this life. Because the change, it must be like Korea since the Second World War. Amazing, you know? Wow, where'd all these tall buildings come from? Religion. Now, we are very secular at our institution. We never discuss or bring up religion, but for our students, it's really a part of their life. It's who they are. Not like for Western Christians. It's part of their daily life. And this is a comment from one student. My favorite part of the book. And here, I think this is, these are praying in the 1940s, Wilfred Thesiger picture. And here they are today. Here he is today. He stopped on the highway. A yearning for the simplicity of Bedou culture, the past culture. They're travelers. Our students, when they go home on the weekends, they go to their farm in the desert. Don't worry, I have 2 or 3 more slides. Okay, so this is a picture made by Thesiger in 1946. Okay, this is a brand new development. And this is the man who wrote the book. He died a few years ago, but he was a friend of, here he is in his travels with the local people. So, we're not finding these kinds of things in graded readers, yeah? Okay, and finally, some of the books, 3 of the books were written by Emirati writers. Our students had never read these books. They didn't know these men were Emirati writers. Maybe one student out of 20 will say, oh yes. If you show the photo. Okay, so here's a comment. And here is the businessman who wrote From Rags to Riches, the story of Abu Dhabi. And here he is with me, okay? Only one of the books, From Rags to Riches, a story of Abu Dhabi, was actually taken up by the publisher, and the student edition was printed and published a year ago. I edited this book. This is the author. A colleague was the author. He's now teaching in Japan. The other 3 books, the publisher wanted us to give him something like $50,000 per book for the copyright to have them published. And here I'll leave you with a little cartoon. This is my last slide. So let's make sure the people making the wheels, that's us, know what we're doing. Yeah? Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, there's no time for questions.
Thank you, Melanie, for a very insightful presentation. Here's a little token
thank you very
of
much.
appreciation
Thank you.
from the conference
Thank
committee.
you. Thank you.
And I have one announcement. For those who were presenters, there are now certificates available to show that you presented. You can go upstairs to the reception desk. Thank you very much.
For staying for this presentation. Today I'm going to be reporting, probably very quickly because it's only a 20-minute presentation, on a survey that I did with my university students on reading and extensive reading, and also with some English-speaking university instructors. This is the order of things. The aims of the study, a little on the methods, the results, and some discussions at the same time for both the student study, and then I'll just touch slightly on the native English speaker teacher study, and a few conclusions and recommendations. The aims are to find out what my university students' reading habits are and to know what they know about ER and the benefits of reading in English. Also, to find out what the native English-speaking teachers in Korea, what their opinions are on students' reading habits. The groups of participants were not very large, not as large as I wish they would be. Ended up with 55 junior and senior English majors responding, 12 and 43, 12 males and the rest were females. Only 31 nests responded to my survey out of, I think it was around 200 who I had asked to respond. And most of those who responded did have an advanced degree, usually an MA, and that was often in teaching something related to English or teaching English. The student survey had 50 items. Most of them, 44, were Likert scale items. 5 points: agree, disagree, undecided, and agree, and strongly agree and agree, strongly disagree and disagree. The others were multiple choice, and the other survey for the native English speakers had 22 items. 9 of those were Likert scale items, and the rest were multiple choice. The survey was administered to the students on SurveyMonkey. I left it open for 2 weeks, maybe a little longer, and gave them instructions through text messaging. The NEST survey was through email and attachments. These are the topics that the questions could be divided into: general study habits, English study, general reading habits, English reading habits, how much they read, how much they understand, what they would do to, what things would be needed for them to read more, the relative importance of reading compared to other things like speaking, listening, and so forth, and how well they know the characteristics of extensive reading. here are some of the first questions. Their responses I have, that shouldn't be percentage, I didn't remove that. I put them on the Likert scale. On the Likert scale, I assigned 1 to strongly disagree, 2 to disagree, 3 undecided, 4 agree, 5 strongly agree. So the middle would be 3. Anything higher than that is this would be slightly agree, usually over 3.5 we could say agree. Over 4.5 would be strongly agree. That's how I would look at it. So the 3 would be the center of the undecided. So on general reading habits, did they read a lot? They agreed that they did in elementary school, not really in middle school, and not in high school. Would they have read more in elementary school if they had more books to read? They said they agreed a little, yes, for elementary school they would, and really, no. They're pretty undecided for middle and high school. So they read a lot in elementary school compared to middle and high school, and they would have read more then, but probably not later if they had more books to read. So the number of books available is not why they don't read more, it would seem. I would read more if I had more interesting books to read. Here we have a 4. They agree with that. In elementary school, they would have read more. Also, in middle school, but not as much in high school. Why? High school students are very busy studying. They have no free time. So here, for if they had more time, they would have read more. We got agree here. Not so much for the other 2. So not having interest in books seems to be a reason why students don't read more. They don't have enough interest in books, and that goes with what we heard the previous hour from Professor Gobert, that maybe the books are not really targeted for the readers. Encouragement, they say yes. They agree that their parents encouraged them, their teachers encouraged them to read. Their friends didn't. Okay. They said yes, they agree that they were encouraged, but I wonder how much. Because if you're encouraged to read and do, your friends will read and you will encourage each other. Oh, I read this book. But they're saying their friends are not encouraging them, so I think there's not much of a reading culture, even though they said their parents encouraged. So what degree? That isn't brought out in the study. That's the button I said you shouldn't push. Where is it here? Oh, I am. Now, English reading habits. Before those were just general reading habits. I read a lot in English. I read a lot in English in middle school. Disagree. In middle school, still, undecided or not agree at least. And in high school, also. This is higher. They read a lot. Well, what did they read? Well, textbook English, I'll bet, is why it's higher. I would have read more if I had more books to read. We're right at 3 now. They don't really agree with that. So again, not having enough books to read is not why they're not reading in Korean or English. That's not the reason. In elementary school, I would have read more if I had more interesting books to read. 3.8, yes, we agree there. In middle school also, in high school. So again, books are not as interesting as they would like them to be. So I think we need to somehow impress this upon the publishers of graded readers, that we aren't getting to our target audience as much as we really should. If I had more time, I would have read more in English. Again, the busy high school students did agree with that. And encouragement, similar to before, but again, not as much. There is more encouragement here, but still it's just at the undecided level and not in high school, not from friends. How much did they read? Here are the responses. 30%, over 30% said less than 30 minutes. This is not a day. This is in a week. 30 minutes a week reading English. These are my university students who are majoring in English. They read less than 30 minutes a week. Another quarter of them read between 30 and 1 hour a week. And then it drops off quickly here. They really are not reading very much. And probably a bit of this. This is not reading for pleasure. This is just English reading. They have English textbooks. I would say a good bit of that is from English textbooks. Well, but they say that most of the reading is from English newspapers and magazines. Graded readers is here at 20% for English majors. And these are, this is realia. These are for native speakers. So is it at their level? I think it's above their level, so it's not as beneficial as graded readers would be. Reading, understanding. What percentage do you understand? 80 to 90%, about a quarter said that, about a quarter said in the 70s, some said in the 60s, a quarter said only 59%. 50 to 59%. If they're reading magazines and newspapers, that's understandable for some of them. Time magazine is just difficult for students to read. I would say they shouldn't be doing that. A lot, we say in the 90%, 90, often you see 98. You should be understanding 98% easy to be for effective extensive reading. But in the 90%, only 5% of the students answered that. So students are reading above their level, it would seem. Should we be reading for general understanding or detailed understanding? 70%, almost 70% did say yes, we should be reading for general understanding to improve. I would read more in English if, again, more interesting reading materials. More interesting reading materials. Again, most of the ones who are reading aren't reading graded readers. They're reading things that are more difficult, so not interesting. And if I could find easier reading materials, I think this 34% have not found graded readers. They're not aware of what graded readers are. And this is the same question, low percentages of answers there. We'll go on. reading English is a good way to improve English grammar. They agree. Vocabulary, they agree very much. To improve writing ability, they agree there too. To improve speaking ability, they even agree here. Not as much as the others, but they agree here. And I understand why. And reading in English is a good way to improve your English reading ability. Well, I would hope so. Yes, and that's the highest. It's important to study blank. It's more important to study blank than English are these questions. Okay. 4, English conversation. Yes. They agree that it's more important to study English conversation and more important to study or practice listening. Those were the 2 highest. They also say it's more important to study writing than to read. Well, okay, that's in the undecided. But these 2, they quite agree with that. It's more important to learn to speak and listen. I think they don't realize how reading, extensive reading, can contribute to these skills. That's my interpretation. On the characteristics of ER, the majority got these right. For general understanding, material that's easy to understand is what we should read. It should be interesting, and is for reading what you want to read. Good. And they got these right. But they missed quite a few over here. Well, 4. Read as much as you want to and when you want to. Only a third got that. Only a third thought that. Reading for pleasure with no testing. Only a third said that. Testing is very prevalent in English learning here. Or read as much as possible. Again, only a third. And reading silently, only a fourth said that. I'm not sure why that is so low. Koreans don't normally read out loud anything. So that's the puzzler. This is really just a review of what I've gone over, and I'm out of time already. So I won't repeat that. That was the end of the student study. On the native English speaker study, only a few questions here that I'm going to share. Students spend, how much time do students spend reading for pleasure? They thought less than a half hour or no time per week. And the students said a little more than this, but not much. So that was similar. How much do you think they should read in English for pleasure a week? Professors saw 1 to 2 hours or 2 to 4 hours. Those are the most common answers. So there's much more they think the students should read, much more than they do read. That reading is important for language learning. How much time do you think the average university those were for just general university students. Here, the same question for English majors. For English majors, they say, how much do they? Less than a half hour, a half to 1 hour. How much should they? They would say between 2 and 7 hours were the most common answers. Quite a bit more than even the students say they actually do read. Why do you think English students don't spend more time reading? The Nest said that, well, Koreans aren't very much into the habit of reading. And I think that is quite true. As you asked earlier about when the children were young, did your father, did your mother read to you? Well, when these university students were children, I'd say for most of them, not much. I think probably that's happening more today. That's happening more today. I don't have any survey results on that, just from my own experience here. And they don't recognize the benefits of reading is their second reason. Again, these are the teachers' second reasons. And I would agree with those. Those would be my top two answers. This is what do the professors think students read most often, and it's the same as what the students said. So I think the nests here have a good idea of what the students read, how much they read, and so forth. When should reading be introduced? This is the last slide. And the teachers would say in primary school or in preschool. And this is just a summary of what I just said. Recommendations. I would recommend that we stress extensive reading much more in our training programs, in our undergraduate pre-service training program, in our TESOL program, in our in-service teacher training programs. We need to emphasize extensive reading, and it's just not being done yet. If it is emphasized by the government in government training programs, I think that will be one way to get the publishers more involved. And yes, I will stop here. Thank you for being a good audience. Thank you.